Chapter 1978. When Tianyan arrived in front of the ancestral land of the Jade God, there were already many attendants and disciples waiting inside. They looked at Tianyan mockingly, thinking that he had overestimated himself and really came to the ancestral land of the Jade God. They weren't the only ones. There were also elders, clan leaders, and star venerables of other factions watching from the side. When they saw Tianyan appear, they were shocked by his courage. Although they felt that Tianyan had overestimated himself, they still admired Tianyan's courage for coming here. Of course, there were more mocking voices, thinking that Tianyan was an idiot. What an idiot! He really came here. I wonder how long he can last under the suppression of the ancestral land of the Jade God. How long can he last? Just this square formation alone is enough to destroy him. Not to mention flattening the ancestral land of the Jade God. I'm afraid he can't even break the gate. That's right. There was a star venerate who came to take revenge, who knew that he couldn't even enter the gate, and was killed by the defense. They couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. They were even more shocked when they talked about the past. The ancestral land of the Jade God was really powerful. Star venerates were just trash in front of it. While they were discussing, a warning voice came from inside the ancestral land of the Jade God to the approaching Tianyan. I didn't expect you to still dare to come here. It seems that you are quite bold. The one who spoke was a Grandmaster Xing, not a star venerate. However, his expression was even more arrogant than a star venerate. He looked at Tianyan with disdain. Even though his cultivation was not as high as Tianyan's, he still looked high and mighty. He looked down on the experts of any faction from the bottom of his heart. In his opinion, only the experts of the ancestral land of the Jade God were worthy of being called experts. Why don't you dare to come here? Do you think that you can stop me with this broken formation? Tianyan looked down at them from the sky and swept his gaze across the surroundings. There wasn't a single star sovereign overseeing this place. Just the star masters like them were enough to guard this place. That was enough to show how confident the Jade God ancestral land was in its defense. Just by relying on this formation, everything could be guarded. Haha, looks like you dare to oppose our ancestral land of Jade Divinity, because you don't know the details. You don't even know the situation of our ancestral land of Jade Divinity, yet you still dare to come here. How foolish! The leader, Grandmaster Xing, was Deacon Lu Tian. His position here was rather high, and in the absence of other elders present he was in charge. None of the elders present came out. The elders were all half-step star venerates. Although they had not broken through to star venerate, they were much stronger than these administrators. Of course, there were also elders who broke through to star venerate. They just did not announce it to the outside world. For example, star venerate Luoju, whom Tianyan killed, was one of the elders who broke through. However, he had just broken through to star venerate and was too arrogant, so he was easily crushed. From this, it could be seen that the elders were completely confident in the effect of this formation. They did not even need to take action to kill Tianyan. Why do I need to know the situation of a force that will disappear soon? Tianyan looked at them and said calmly, "You will soon disappear from everyone's memory along with the flow of history. No force could be remembered forever. As time went by, people would quickly forget about it. Unless they were still alive, they would soon disappear from everyone's memory. How dare you?" Deacon Lu Tian flew into a rage. He pointed at Tianyan and said angrily, "Do you think you are a star venerable? It seems like our ancestral land of Jade Divinity has not been mobilized for a long time, so someone dares to provoke us. This time, we will let the world know that our ancestral land of Jade Divinity is invincible." Jade Divinity Square Formation, activate. Buzz. A light burst out. All of the divine palaces gave off a dazzling light. They turned into a giant light formation that soared into the sky and formed a giant phantom in the void. This phantom looked extremely majestic. More importantly, it had the energy of a star venerable, which meant this square formation had been strengthened by a star venerable. No wonder they were so confident. A square formation strengthened by a star venerable? Interesting. Looking at the phantom in the sky, Tianyan said with a smile, "A phantom is just a phantom. If it were a real star venerable, I would be a bit afraid of it. Unfortunately, it's just a phantom. It's just a square formation strengthened by a star venerable. How powerful could it be after such a long time? You have been living on your laurels. That's all you can do. You won't be able to say anything later. This square formation strengthened by our jade divinity star venerable is not something you can slander. Deacon Lu Tian said angrily. Great jade divinity star venerable, kill this disrespectful guy. Right after Deacon Lu Tian spoke, the giant phantom brandished a steel of light and pressed down from the sky. The steel of light contained a strong star venerable energy and enveloped Yi Tianyin. The giant steel of light instantly sealed off all paths of retreat. At the same time, it attacked from all directions, trying to flatten Yi Tianyin. Oh, it even sealed off all directions. It surrounded the intruder and even flattened him. This power is really enough to suppress an ordinary star venerable easily. Yi Tianyin evaluated its might. It was like a strong attack from a middle-stage star venerable. At the same time, it also contained a star venerable's might, which was very difficult to block. Soon, the 6 steels of light enveloped the area and sealed off all directions. No one outside could see Yi Tianyin's figure anymore. What a strong formation's power! Is this the power of a star venerable? Even though I'm so far away, my legs feel like jelly. If I were any closer, my body would probably explode from the pressure. That's for sure. That is the power of a star venerable. Look, my legs are shaking. If I were not stubbornly holding on, I would have knelt down. This time he is dead for sure. It ended just as it started. This is really boring. Even if it's boring, there's nothing we can do about it. This is the power of a star venerable after all. When the group of cultivators saw this scene, they all sighed. They felt that coming here was worth it. When Han Long and the others rushed over and saw this scene, their hearts leaped into their throats. However, they could not even get close, not to mention help Yi Tianyin. Fairy Fanyu's mouth had not closed since Yi Tianyin left. She really wanted to stop Yi Tianyin, or fight alongside Yi Tianyin. However, when she wanted to follow him, she discovered that she could not move. Her legs seemed to be fixed to the ground. Fairy Fanyu thought to herself, Yi Tianyin can win. Don't come over. Chapter 1979. All paths of retreat had been sealed, causing everyone outside to be dumbfounded. Most of them had never seen such terrifying power before. Moreover, they had never seen a great formation strengthened by the Star Venerable's power. It was absolutely a first-class great formation. In their eyes, Yi Tianyin would definitely die. Who could resist such a great formation strengthened by the Star Venerable's blood? Seeing Yi Tianyin being swallowed up, people shook their heads. They thought it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous that Yi Tianyin had overestimated himself. He had chosen to fight against the ancestral land of the Jade God. If it had been other practitioners, they would have retreated a long time ago. They would have begged the ancestral land of the Jade God to forgive them even if they had to sacrifice everything they had. Is it going to end so soon? He didn't even struggle. Is Star Lord Tianyin a fake? He was bragged about before. I thought he could really contend against the ancestral land of the Jade God. Do you even believe the rumors? I told you he was a Star Venerable. Do you believe me? Exactly. We can see his real face now. The so-called Star Lord Tianyin is just a half-baked guy. When they saw Yi Tianyin being swallowed up by the light wall without struggling, they realized there was nothing to see. Everything would be reduced to nothingness when the wall of light exploded. Boom. Then the light wall came over. In the end, a dreadful explosion was set off. The area within the range of the light wall was destroyed. A small amount of energy was emitted from it. The practitioners in the distance were forced to step back. Some of the more serious ones even spat up blood and got seriously injured. Those who were seriously injured were too bold. They wanted to get closer to observe. The result was obvious. They were blown away by the dreadful explosion and got seriously injured. That was the price they had to pay. Seeing this scene, Qingshua's pretty face turned pale. She wondered if Yi Tianyin was really going to be killed. Han Long and the others trembled. They were all shocked by this scene. They had never seen such a domineering power. Do you see that? That's the consequence of going against the Jade God ancestral land. The elders of the Qingdan clan paled upon seeing this. Their disciples nodded their heads repeatedly. No wonder the elders would offer their precious treasures. If this technique were to explode in their hands, then their clans would really be gone. At the same time, they were glad that the elders had made the right decision. The sooner they drove Qing Shui out, the better. That would be a form of protection for the family. A mere ant dares to act presumptuously in the Jade God ancestral land. Lu Tian sneered. He had seen many disrespectful people like this, and they were all easily killed without the slightest hesitation. Just when they thought that everything was over, a figure swayed inside and soon appeared in their line of sight. So this is the move of your ancestral land of Jade divinity? It's really ordinary. Yi Tianyan calmly walked into everyone's line of sight. Lu Tian's smile suddenly froze. He looked at Yi Tianyan in disbelief, wondering if he was seeing things. How could he not be dead? Even a middle-stage Star Lord should have been killed. Lu Tian's eyes widened, full of shock. Not to mention him. Even the others were staring at this scene with wide eyes. Every time this star venerate formation was activated, someone would die. No one could resist this technique. Once it was released, it would definitely defeat the invaders. Now the effect was gone. It didn't defeat the invaders as expected, at least not for Yi Tianyan. He was unscathed, proving to the world that the Jade God ancestral land was not as invincible as the rumors said. This was what Yi Tianyan had done deliberately. He wanted to prove to the cultivators that he was not invincible, and he wanted them to know about him. When the ancestral land of the Jade God suffered a heavy defeat, he even spread his name. His Excellency is invincible. His Excellency is invincible. Han Long and the others cheered. When they saw that Yi Tianyan was unscathed, they were very excited. They knew that Yi Tianyan would not lose so quickly. Far away, Fairy Fan Yu's eyes turned red. As long as Yi Tianyan was fine, it was fine. First Elder, this heavenly cloud star lord is too strong. Did we choose the wrong side? The disciples of the Qingdan family started to panic, wondering if they had gambled on the wrong treasure. The elders of the Qingdan family were all dumbfounded, but they did not panic. This brat is quite tough, but what's the point? This formation is just one of the most basic moves of the Jade God ancestral land. It's not a big deal to be able to resist it. Don't forget that the Lord of the Jade God ancestral land did not make a move. This is nothing. The elders of the Qingdan family shook their heads. All of you calm down. Don't think too much. The Jade God ancestral land is invincible and irresistible. Just know this. The elders of the Qingdan family looked at Yi Tianyan with disdain. They still did not believe that Yi Tianyan could trample the Jade God ancestral land by himself. It was a fantasy. Yi Tianyan did not care what they thought. He walked forward step by step and soon arrived in front of the divine palaces. He looked down at them and said, "You have been hiding in your turtle shell all this time. Do you think I can't break it?" Immediately, Yi Tianyan stomped heavily on the ground, and a violent 5-color Emperor Dragon Phantom appeared behind him, and a huge dragon claw appeared as it pressed down fiercely. Boom! The gigantic dragon claw pressed down and bombarded the thick protective shield, causing a huge wave to surge. Dong! The huge barrier fluctuated. The divine palaces buzzed and emitted all kinds of lights. This meant that they were releasing energy to resist Yi Tianyan's attack. Under such a powerful attack, the barrier merely shook a little, but there was not the slightest crack. Sure enough, this barrier could not be destroyed so easily. If it could be destroyed so easily, it would not be the Jade God ancestral land anymore. If the first stomp didn't work, then the second one. Yi Tianyan stomped on the barrier again. The explosive power exploded on the barrier again. Layer after layer of the barrier fluctuated, but there was still no sign of it breaking. Haha, you want to break our barrier with your strength? Even if you break your foot, you won't be able to break our defense, idiot. Although Lu Tian was frightened, he was still full of confidence. The Jade God ancestral land was famous not because of this formation, but because of its comprehensive strength. Chapter 1980. You arrogant guy. You think you can break our defense just because you broke our attack? Ridiculous. Just wait and see how we'll deal with you. Hearing Yi Tianyun's words getting more and more outrageous, Deacon Lu Tian started to get angry. If his cultivation had been higher, he would have rushed over to fight with Yi Tianyun. Now they still had other moves, which were to keep accumulating power, so that they could exert the Star Venerable Great Array again. However, they hadn't finished accumulating power yet, so they couldn't attack Yi Tianyun. Don't wait. I'll go in now and let you deal with it. Yi Tianyun stomped on the shield again, and with a loud bang, the shield caved in. This time the force was much stronger than before. The terrifying force caused the barrier to cave in, scaring them all. Deacon Lu Tian took a closer look and found that the shield was not damaged. He started to laugh. I said it's useless. No matter what move you use, it won't work. They started to laugh, thinking that Yi Tianyun was doing something useless. Again. The five-color Emperor Dragon Phantom behind Yi Tianyun became more solid. Star power appeared in the sky. Soon he had condensed star power from 5 directions. He didn't break out the strongest power at once, but only a part of it. Under the heavy pressure and the horrible power, the shield caved in again. With a bang, the shield caved in again. Everyone was so scared that their faces turned pale, especially when they felt that the shield was almost on their heads. However, when they saw the shield rise slowly and didn't see any cracks, they smiled mockingly. I thought it would be powerful, but it still can't be broken. With this kind of power, even if he attacked us 10 times, he wouldn't be able to break our shield. Deacon Lu Tian was still laughing. He felt a little relieved, thinking that Yi Tianyun wouldn't be able to break it. The elders of the Qingdan family shook their heads, their faces full of mockery. See? This is the power of the ancestral land of the Jade God. Attacks won't be effective, but this shield is enough to block all attacks. The elders gave Jiang Shan pointers from the side. Let's charge up again and unleash that formation attack again. We'll definitely be able to kill this evil beast. All the disciples nodded. They completely believed in their elders' words. Especially after Yi Tianyun's continuous attacks didn't have any effect. He felt that it was impossible to break the energy shield. But before he could finish his sentence, a terrifying force came crashing down again. Dong dong dong. Boom. With a loud bang, several divine palaces on the side were crushed. The terrifying power passed through the protective shield and directly pressed down on the towering divine palace, causing it to explode. This time, everyone was really shocked. Didn't they say that it couldn't be destroyed? How could it be destroyed now? This gave them a great fright, simply scared out of their wits, feeling that this was inconceivable. What's going on? Deacon Lu Tian's heart almost stopped. In their hearts, they thought that the ancestral land of the Jade God could not be broken through, but now, the divine palaces were destroyed. Although there were only a few, at least Yi Tianyun's power was really heaven-defying. Good, good. The shield hasn't been broken yet. Deacon Lu Tian breathed a sigh of relief. It didn't matter if the divine palaces were damaged. There were so many divine palaces here. A little damage was not a big deal. But before he could think further, another violent stomp came down, and the astral power above Yi Tianyun increased again. Dong! The heavy force came crashing down again, and a large part of the divine palace was crushed again, and a few cracks began to appear on the shield. This meant that the seemingly indestructible shield finally began to crack. If this continued, the shield would definitely be shattered. Dong dong dong. The power came crashing down again, and before they could react, more cracks appeared on the shield, and it was about to be completely shattered. Quickly, open the formation. Deacon Lu Tian screamed, and his voice changed from a strong male voice to a female voice. He was so scared that his voice changed. By the time the other disciples hurried to open the formation to the maximum effect, it was already too late. Under the crazy pressure of Yi Tianyun, who only relied on the astral power of the 7 directions, the formation's shattering became more and more serious. In particular, more and more divine palaces were affected. These divine palaces originally served as the supporting points of the formation, but as the damage increased, the supporting points became fewer and fewer. As a result, the situation of the formation became very weak. Combined with Yi Tianyun's strongest power, it was naturally impossible to resist. Boom. Accompanied by a loud bang, the shield completely collapsed, turning into countless fragments and disappeared. At the same time, many divine palaces, along with the destruction of the shield, caused a large part of the divine palaces to collapse. The originally neat and tidy divine palace had now turned into a large piece of ruins. This scene fell into the eyes of the onlookers, and they were completely dumbfounded. Previously, they thought that it was impossible to be damaged, and impossible to destroy, but now, the godlike formation of the ancestral land of the Jade God was broken just like that. Over the years, basically no one could destroy it. No matter how many star venerates or how many experts came, they could not destroy it. But now it's destroyed by Tianyan alone. It's really incredible. Destroy. Tianyan once again stomped heavily on the ground, crushing Deacon Lu Tian and the others without any hesitation. He killed as he pleased, regardless of what faction they were from. Moreover, he said he would destroy the ancestral land of the Jade God, so he did it. As he stomped madly, the divine palaces were crushed one after another, sweeping away everything in his way. Such ruthlessness made the onlookers feel a chill in their hearts. The shield of the ancestral land of the Jade God is destroyed. They were all stunned. A shield that could not be destroyed was destroyed just like that. That was a godlike existence, which was equivalent to imprinting in their memories. And they thought that the shield of the ancestral land of the Jade God could not be destroyed. Now that it was destroyed, how could they not be dumbfounded? The elders of the Qingdan family were also so shocked that they could not close their mouths. They had just said that it could not be destroyed, and now, they were slapped in the face. Elder, the shield is broken. So what if it's broken? There are still Lord Star Venerates inside. They haven't appeared yet. This shield has been maintained for so long and has been attacked so many times. It's possible that it will be broken. The elders still gritted their teeth. No matter what, they did not think that Tianyan could win. After all, this was just the beginning. How could he lose? Chapter 1981. After the shield was broken, Tianyan started to destroy the divine palaces like a hot knife through butter. He would not let go of any cultivator from the ancestors' land of the Jade God. They were all scared by his ferocity. Not until then did they recall what Tianyan had said, which was that he would destroy the ancestors' land of the Jade God. It seemed he would destroy the ancestors' land of the Jade God for real. He was not joking. Is he really going to destroy the ancestors' land of the Jade God? The ancestors' land of the Jade God is not big, but it is not small. Right. There are so many disciples and strong cultivators. Can he really kill his way in? I'm afraid he will anger the Lord of the ancestors' land of the Jade God. He is arrogant now, but he won't be able to be arrogant later. When the shield is broken, other elders will come to fight him. How can he be arrogant then? They were all sneering. They found it ridiculous that Tianyan was destroying everything in his way. He could be arrogant for a moment, but he would be doomed later. If he attracted the anger of the ancestors' land of the Jade God, not to mention one Tianyan, even two Tianyan would be doomed. Tianyan did not care about what they thought, but he acted according to his plan. He would destroy everything in his way, and he would destroy everything in his way. He never talked nonsense. Therefore, as he pushed his way through, his ferocity shocked everyone. The disciples in the divine palace did not even have the time to react before they were flattened. No matter how strong they were, no matter whether they were men or women, he would destroy everything in his way. Those who could run away would run away. Those who could not run away would be buried here. Once Tianyan became ruthless, he would be dreadful. No one could stop him. He was extremely angry because of what the ancestors' land of the Jade God had done to him. He would not be able to calm his anger without a bloodbath. How dare you intrude into our ancestors' land? Several angry shouts came from inside. Then two Star Lords flew up from behind. They released the star power of the 6 directions, and many formations lit up under their feet. A Star Venerable's power surged up from the soles of their feet, and entered their bodies, increasing their power once again. With the help of the array, the stellar energy surged in all directions. Their cultivations were not low in the first place, middle stage Star Venerates. With the astral energy from the surroundings, They could even exchange moves with late-stage star venerates. This was especially so when they wielded celestial domain-grade weapons. Together with their own strength, they could clash head-on with ordinary late-stage star venerates. This was the power of the Jade God's ancestral land. The great formation under their feet, which had been strengthened by the Star Venerable, could not only protect them, but also strengthen them. It seemed quite perfect. Under the lead of these two Star Venerate elders, there were hundreds of Grandmasters Xing behind them. They gathered and formed a large formation. Then they turned into a giant and surrounded Xiaochun. The auras they released were at least as strong as a Star Venerate. 2 Star Sovereigns. Heavens, aren't there too many Star Sovereigns in the Jade God ancestral land? Didn't you say there would only be 3 Star Venerates? Right now they are not Lord Azure Fire Star Venerate, but some elders, right? That's right. The ancestral land of the Jade God has hidden itself too well. They say there are only 3 Star Venerates, but now there are more than 5. The power of the ancestral land of the Jade God is really terrifying. This is the power of the ancestral land of the Jade God. Do you see it? The eyes of the elders of the Qingdan family flickered. They were excited, as if they were the people of the ancestral land of the Jade God. In fact, they just thought they were right. If they could rely on the ancestral land of the Jade God, they could do whatever they wanted. Many disciples nodded. Seeing these star sovereigns, they had to respect the ancestral land of the Jade God even more. This power was really unparalleled in the world. Facing this group of forces charging at him, Tianyan didn't think too much. The 5-colored Emperor Dragon image behind him surged again. Immediately, the star power from all directions was drawn from the sky. The vast star power dimmed the surrounding star Dharma forms. This scene made the cultivators, who thought the ancestral land of the Jade God was invincible, pale. They had never felt the star power from all directions before. A bunch of trash. Let your leader come out. What's the point of hiding in there? Tianyan roared and stepped forward. The huge 5-colored Emperor Dragon image pressed forward. The compressed power exploded in the air. The 2 Star Sovereigns and Grandmaster Xing's array were all blasted into nothingness. After the explosion, not only was a large area flattened, but the 2 Star Sovereigns were also blasted into nothingness. As for Grandmaster Xing, he was even more dead. All this happened in the blink of an eye. A large number of experts died like tofu, crushed with one step. The expressions of the group of cultivators froze. They thought that Tianyan would definitely be besieged and killed. Now it seemed that they were too naive. They had underestimated Tianyan's strength. They all thought that the power Tianyan used to destroy the barrier was already the strongest. Now it seemed that was not the case. It was destroyed just like that. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. The elders of the Qingdan family opened their mouths wide. There were so many experts, but they could not withstand one move. Elders, this heavenly cloud star lord is so strong. Many disciples exclaimed. They were all frightened by Tianyan's strength. They once again had the illusion that Tianyan could really overthrow the ancestral land of the Jade God. In this case, they had bet on the wrong treasure. They had publicly broken off relations with Tianyan and Qing Shui. Wasn't this equivalent to courting death? No, it can't be. This is just the beginning. Green Flame Star Lord and the others have not come out yet. The elders still refused to admit that they had failed until the very end. In their hearts, they were already full of fear for Tianyan. That was a star sovereign, but he had been killed in one move. If they had not sensed their auras, they would have suspected that they were star apostles. How could they not be star apostles after being killed so weakly? Hanlong's side cheered. He was shocked by Tianyan's strength. Tianyan, on the other hand, felt that it was very normal. In the 5-element mountain he had killed many experts. Especially when he was fighting against the Green Demon clan, they did not know about Tianyan's achievements. He had easily defeated so many late-stage star sovereigns, not to mention these people who were merely middle-stage star sovereigns. You are indeed worthy of being an opponent who could kill Metalwind Star Lord. You are indeed qualified to make us attack. A figure appeared in the void, and the surrounding space distorted. Then, with a blazing sound, the surrounding divine palaces burned like a huge pillar of fire. Chapter 1982. The disciples of the Jade God Ancestral Land cheered when they saw the Emerald Flame Star Lord. They had been waiting for him for a long time. The appearance of the verdant Flame Star Lord was like a reassuring pill that calmed their panicked hearts. The Emerald Fire Star Sovereign was too strong. They didn't know how strong he was. In any case, he was in existence stronger than the Goldwind Star Sovereign. Goldwind Star Monarch was already very strong, but Emerald Flame Star Monarch was even stronger. The most important thing was that the verdant Flame Star Monarch controlled the flames of heaven and earth. He had the power to burn everything. As soon as he came out, the divine palaces around him were ignited and rapidly melted. Following that, the power of the melting bolstered his body. Rolling heat waves continuously spread in all directions. One could not see any flames with the naked eye, but one could feel the terrifying heat. If one's cultivation was slightly lower, they would probably be melted if they got a little closer. This was the strength of the Azure Fire Star Venerate. He controlled the flames of the world, and was a late-stage Star Venerate. In addition, he knew alchemy, so it was not surprising that his overall strength was even stronger. After the Emerald Flame Star Sovereign appeared, he sized up Etianyan. When he first received news that Etianyan had defeated Goldwind Star Lord, he did not believe it. After all, the Metal Wind Star Venerate was rather strong, not someone an ordinary Star Venerate could defeat. From his point of view, there might have been some sort of help behind the scenes, or perhaps Etianyan had used some sort of crafty plot to trick Goldwind Star Lord. Goldwind Star Monarch was very powerful, but it had to be said that he was rather straightforward and could be easily schemed against. Thus, even though Goldwind Star Monarch had died, he felt that it was a pity, but he was not too surprised. It was normal to be schemed to death one day. A simple-minded person with well-developed limbs would not be able to walk to the end. Emerald Flame Star Lord. Etianyan looked at the verdant Flame Star Lord who had appeared. He controlled the flames of heaven and earth. And it was a very strong formless flame. It seemed formless, but it actually had form. Its true form was the fluctuations of the flames in the air. Those were flames buried in the void. If one got close, they would be burned to ashes. There's another Star Sovereign. Didn't your ancestral land of Jade God have 3 Star Sovereigns? I killed Star Sovereign Goldwind. If you want to come out, then come out together. What's the point of coming out alone? Etianyan chuckled, not taking Emerald Flame Star Sovereign seriously at all. It seemed like he wanted to fight 1 against 2. How dare you? Just the verdant Flame Star Lord alone is enough to deal with you. There is no need for the Jade Heaven Star Lord to act. The nearby disciples roared, thinking that Etianyan was being disrespectful to the ancestral land of the Jade God. I'm talking to Emerald Flame Star Lord. Why are you interrupting? Etianyan flicked his hand, and the disciple who was shouting beside him was killed with a flick. The verdant Flame Star Sovereign did not move at all, allowing Etianyan to kill that disciple as if it had nothing to do with him. In truth, they couldn't be bothered to care about those disciples. They were high and mighty, and these disciples didn't matter to them at all. If they died, so be it. The fact that he didn't come out for a long time proved this point. The barrier outside was about to break, and he couldn't be bothered to come out. He only came out after so many Star Lords were killed. After all, if he didn't come out soon, the ancestral land of the Jade God would be flattened. I alone am enough to deal with you. There is no need for the Jade Heaven Star Lord to act, the verdant Flame Star Sovereign said indifferently. He waved his hand, and the surrounding formless flames immediately gathered around Etianyan. Etianyan can't see it with the naked eye, but he clearly feels that he is surrounded by a wall of fire, like a wall of fire surrounding him. However, he couldn't see the walls of fire clearly. Let's end this. The verdant Flame Star Sovereign formed a seal with both hands, and a startling fiery light shot out of his eyes. Azure Lotus Purgatory. There. The surrounding area was instantly incinerated. The originally invisible flame suddenly became visible, turning into a green flame that soared into the sky. Behind him, an Azure Lotus appeared. This was the Azure Lotus. The Green Lotus Star Dharma power was indeed special. It was a 5th grade Star Dharma power. Although it had not reached the 6th grade, its effects were definitely top-notch. It was at least a peak grade 5-star aspect. Furthermore, it could be used to refine pills. It was more useful than most star aspects. In an instant, Tianyan was engulfed by the flames and completely disappeared from everyone's sight. He had used an extremely powerful killing move. It seemed that the verdant flame star sovereign was treating him as a real opponent. He wouldn't normally use such a killing move. Using it against Tianyan meant that the verdant flame star sovereign was serious. Especially when he saw the 11 units of star power surging above him. They knew that he was going all out. Such a killer move made everyone feel incomparably shocked. They had never seen the verdant flame star sovereign make a move before. Those who did were basically all dead. Now that they could see the verdant flame star sovereign make a move, they felt that it was the right decision not to go against the ancestral land of the Jade God. Just when they thought that even if Tianyan didn't die, he would be burnt to a crisp, a figure rushed out of the flames and charged towards the verdant flame star sovereign. He reached out and grabbed the verdant flame star sovereign's neck. "You're telling me it's over with this little power?" Tianyan looked at him indifferently. He held the verdant flame star sovereign tightly in his hand, as if he was holding a chicken in the air. Everyone was dumbstruck by this scene. Such a powerful killer move had no effect at all. The verdant flame star sovereign was shocked. He had taken the fight seriously and used all his power. Yet he couldn't hurt Tianyan at all. Before he could think further, Tianyan increased his strength slightly. The verdant flame star sovereign's neck was crushed. At the same time, a powerful force surged through his limbs. In an instant, his body and head swelled up. Roar! The verdant flame star sovereign's head suddenly turned into a flame and fled to the side. His body exploded and turned into a terrifying flame that engulfed Tianyan. After the verdant flame star monarch escaped, he released a cyan-colored flame, and once again condensed into his body. However, several of the lotus flowers on the green lotus image behind him had withered. It seemed that this shadow had the effect of rebirth. The effect of rebirth was actually present in many star avatars. They all had different effects. However, the final result was that the body could be reconstructed. It was like having an extra life. Such power. The verdant flame star sovereign's pupils shrank. He didn't expect Tianyan to not only have astonishing speed, but also to be able to withstand his flames. Soon, the flames from his self-explosion dissipated. Tianyan reappeared in their line of sight. His body was unharmed. If one looked closely, they would find that his body was flickering with golden light. He could easily withstand any attack. Chapter 1983. Tianyan's body emitted golden light like a golden god. This was undoubtedly one of Goldwind Star-Lord's abilities. He could turn into a powerful golden god that could block all attacks, including the terrifying explosion of flames. They were all dumbfounded. How could Tianyan have Goldwind Star-Lord star aspect? However, they didn't think that Tianyan had Goldwind Star-Lord star aspect only because he had this ability. In any case, Tianyan's unscathed situation made them all dumbfounded. If he could withstand such a sudden attack, what else could he not withstand? Emerald Flame Star-Lord lost? Everyone had the same thought. Emerald Flame Star-Lord didn't die, but he was at a complete disadvantage. His body was even damaged. He didn't die, but everyone could see that he was being suppressed by Tianyan. A great expert of ancestral land of Jade God was suppressed by Tianyan. How could this not be considered a defeat? It was just a matter of time. The Qingdan family was now wondering if they had bet on the wrong treasure. Once things ended and Tianyan won, it would mean that the Qingdan family would be targeted by Tianyan. They didn't think that they wouldn't be targeted. They had declared their loyalty to ancestral land of Jade God. So how could Tianyan not know about it? Knowing this, would Tianyan let the Qingdan family go? No, Emerald Flame Star-Lord won't lose. Emerald Flame Star-Lord still has many abilities that he hasn't used. Jade Heaven Star-Lord hasn't come out yet. He definitely won't lose. The Qingdan family's elders gritted their teeth and refused to admit their defeat. They wouldn't think that ancestral land of Jade God would lose until the very end. Moreover, ancestral land of Jade God still had many techniques that they hadn't used. Jade Heaven Star-Lord hadn't come out yet, so how could they lose? While they thought that ancestral land of Jade God wouldn't lose, Emerald Flame Star-Lord was filled with shock and disbelief. He didn't believe that his attack had no effect at all. Instead, his body had exploded, nearly leaving him half dead. If he didn't react in time, Etianyan would have really hurt his soul. Even if he had the ability to resurrect, his soul would be damaged, and his combat effectiveness would be very low. How did he appear? How could he be so strong? Even my self-detonation was useless? Green Fire Star Sovereign was completely shocked by Etianyan's power. This was especially so for his final self-detonation. He didn't dare say that it was very strong, but it was at least one of his strongest attacks. This could be considered an ultimate technique that belonged to him. By abandoning his previous body and self-destructing, he would definitely be able to heavily injure his opponent. No matter what, the might of this attack was equal to the strongest strike of a late-stage Star Venerate. Even at such a close distance, Xiaochen remained unharmed. This simply frightened him. Oh, you're quite lucky to have such a novel ability. If he doesn't burst out with some power, this will be the end. Etianyan's expression remained calm. If he could not even suppress this, then he would have made all those breakthroughs for nothing. Not only did Xiaochen's cultivation make a breakthrough, but his dermic body of stars had also improved. With these two improvements, if even Emerald Flame Star Lord could not suppress him, then all his efforts would have been in vain. Furthermore, Xiaochen could use the power of other people's dermic bodies. When Emerald Flame Star Lord self-detonated, he immediately used the Metal Wind Star Lord's golden body to increase his defense. He was almost injured by the explosion. Being attacked at such a close distance, even if his defense was not bad, he would have been injured by the explosion no matter what. Fortunately, he had the Metal Wind Star Lord's golden body, which greatly increased his defense. In the next moment, Etianyan did not say anything more. His figure flashed, and the might of the Metal Wind Star Lord's dermic body infused into his body. Then, he quickly turned into a beam of golden light that shot forward. Together with the power of the five-colored Emperor Dragon, the two stacked together caused the sky to change color. The power of the five-colored Emperor Dragon was already strong enough. Together with the Metal Wind Star Lord's dermic body, its power was even more terrifying. The surrounding cultivators could vaguely see two dermic bodies appear behind Etianyan. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? It looks like there are two dermic bodies. You must be seeing things. Everyone can only have one Star Dharma Laksana. How can there be two Star Dharma Laksana? That's right. It looks like he has two dermic bodies. He must have used some special secret technique to have such an effect. They were extremely shocked by this, but they refused to believe that one person could have two types of Star Dharma powers. That was absolutely impossible. This was already a fixed rule that could not be broken. The main thing was that when Etianyan used it, he did not fully release it. If he had fully released it, there would have been a heavenly vision. He did not want to reveal this ability for the time being. Hiding it was naturally the best choice. Green Lotus burns the world. The green lotus behind Verdant Fire Star-Lord bloomed instantly. It was originally in the form of a stamen, but in the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge green lotus. Green flames surged out from within and finally fused with him. Roar! Surging flames emerged from Verdant Fire Star-Lord's body. The blazing flames formed a green armor on the surface of his body. His hair and eyes all shone with a green light. His combat power increased explosively. This was Verdant Fire Star-Lord's full power. Together with the dermic body, his power increased greatly. This was not the end. Verdant Fire Star-Lord took out a bottle of elixirs and poured them into his mouth. Don't forget that he was an alchemist of his generation and had many elixirs. After taking it, the flames that emerged from his body rose even higher. His battle prowess rose once again. The raging flames were like a runaway horse, spreading out in all directions. The surrounding divine palaces and the ground were all melted by this astonishing heat. Verdant Fire Star-Lord has exploded. That is the Green Lotus armor. Once the Green Lotus armor appears, he will definitely return victorious. I remember now. When the ancestral land of the Jade God fought everywhere, the Green Lotus armor appeared and everywhere it went was barren. I didn't expect to see the power of the Green Lotus armor today. Who can compete with the Green Lotus armor? Verdant Fire Star-Lord still has such a move. We almost forgot. Verdant Fire Star-Lord will definitely win. No one could stop Verdant Fire Star-Lord back then. And this time is no exception. This time, Verdant Fire Star-Lord is really serious. That guy will definitely die. The disciples of the ancestral land of the Jade God, as well as the cultivators outside, could not help but exclaim. Especially when they saw the Green Lotus armor, the feeling was even more different. Chapter 1984. As soon as the Azure Lotus armor appeared, Han Long and the others' expressions changed. They could all feel the dreadful power in it. The power had been compressed to the extreme. It was like a sleeping lion that had just woken up and started to conquer the world. I haven't used my full power in a long time. After so many years, you are the first opponent who can make me use my full power. After the Azure Flame Star Lord had used his full power, he looked at Yi Tianyan in a different way. His eyes were filled with disdain. He looked down on everything. It seemed like nothing could enter his eyes. In his opinion, as long as he used his full power, no one could resist his power. Especially with the support of the 11-star forces in the sky, his power surpassed the 10-star forces that Yi Tianyan had used. If this is all you've got, then you're really too weak. Don't be so long-winded. Just take the Star Venerable's blood. It's not enough to rely on such power. Yi Tianyan shook his head and signaled the Azure Flame Star Lord to use the Star Venerate's blood. If he did not use the Star Venerate's blood, the explosion in front of him would be meaningless. It seems that you know nothing about my power. The Azure Flame Star Lord raised his hand in the air and said calmly, "When I use my full power, even I am afraid. Disappear, ant." The Azure Flame Star Lord pointed at the air gently. The air was burning. The area where Yi Tianyan was distorted. It was instantly burned into a black hole. The air was shattered. All of this happened in the blink of an eye, and the void was burned away. Yi Tianyan's body flashed. He quickly went up to the Azure Flame Star Lord. Facing Yi Tianyan, who was coming at him, the Azure Flame Star Lord was not surprised. If it were so easy to kill Yi Tianyan, he would have killed Yi Tianyan long ago. Close combat will make your death more painful. The Azure Flame Star Lord showed a cruel smile. As expected, Yi Tianyan's body, which was close to him, was burned quickly. The horrible flames were like countless worms, drilling into Yi Tianyan's body. At the same time, the surface of his body began to turn pitch black, preparing to burn his flesh and bones to ashes. Who knew that Yi Tianyan would not care about this situation? Like a flash of lightning, he reached out to grab Verdant Flame Star Lord's head. Xiao Chen's move did not change. He still wanted to kill the Verdant Flame Star Sovereign in one strike, crushing his head. Emerald Flame Star Sovereign naturally wouldn't let Yi Tianyan succeed. He quickly stretched out his hand and grabbed Yi Tianyan's arm. He sneered and said, "You still want to use this move? Impossible. I never thought that I would succeed in one move." Yi Tianyan suddenly swung his body and kicked Emerald Flame Star Monarch's body. Boom! Emerald Flame Star Monarch was forced back a few steps, but he was not seriously injured. On the other hand, the flames flowed along Yi Tianyan's leg and quickly surged into his body. The leg that he had kicked out was burnt black. "Haha, I told you, close combat will only make your death more painful." Emerald Flame Star Sovereign's body was unscathed. The heavy kick did not affect him at all. The Azure Lotus battle armor on his body could already block most of the damage, and at the same time, it could also reflect the damage. It's just a turtle shell. Yi Tianyan did not stop. He continued to violently beat Emerald Flame Star Sovereign. His fists continuously bombarded Emerald Flame Star Sovereign's body. Emerald Flame Star Sovereign stretched out his hand to block, but found that he had no strength to fight back. He was constantly being suppressed by Yi Tianyan's fists. His violent fists were infused with the sharp power of metal. It's useless. It will only make you die faster. Emerald Flame Star Sovereign was constantly forced to retreat. Although he could not fight back, he watched as Yi Tianyan's fists became darker and darker. More and more flames poured into his body. Emerald Flame Star Sovereign felt incomparably carefree. What he was most proud of was the Azure Lotus battle armor on his body. Not only could it block the enemy's attacks, it could also reflect damage. The more he attacked, the more flames seeped in. Finally, when the accumulation reached a certain limit, he would be burnt to a crisp. Dong dong dong. Etienne's fists became sharper and sharper. He did not care whether his fists were burnt or not. He continued to beat Emerald Flame Star Sovereign, until he had no strength to fight back. Emerald Flame Star Sovereign is beaten so badly that he can't fight back. Even if he explodes, it will be meaningless. They were all stunned. They thought that Emerald Flame Star Sovereign could fight back. Now it seemed that he could not fight back. He was still beaten. Idiot, Emerald Flame Star Sovereign's Azure Lotus battle armor is invincible. It can continuously reflect damage. Just the damage reflection alone can burn that guy to death. That's right. You don't understand the horror of the Azure Lotus battle armor. It contains flames. Whoever attacks him will die. Didn't you see that Heavencloud Star Sovereign's hands are gradually scorched? His body is probably accumulating flames. When the time comes, he will die without a doubt. Those who knew more about the Azure Lotus battle armor began to refute those who thought that Emerald Flame Star Sovereign would lose. Perhaps to them, the idea that Jade God Ancestral Land would win was already deeply ingrained. You want to burn me with this flame? You are too naive. Etienne snorted coldly. He shook his arms slightly, and the black ash covering them was shaken off. His white arms were exposed. There was no sign of being burnt at all. How can? Emerald Flame Star Sovereign was shocked. He did not expect that such a powerful flame would have no effect on Etienne. In fact, it was not that it was ineffective. Etienne used the Green Devil Holy King and the other Star Dharma idol to heal himself. Under the violent healing effect, the damage to him was negligible. To put it bluntly, the opponent's damage was not as fast as his own recovery speed. How could he be injured? Break for me, you turtle shell. Etienne aimed at the center and punched heavily again. With a dong sound, Emerald Flame Star Sovereign fell heavily on the ground. With a loud sound, the Azure Lotus battle armor on his body completely disintegrated and turned into powder. At the same time, his body was smashed by the punch. It was too horrible to look at. Emerald Flame Star Sovereign collapsed on the ground. He could only move his hands. He did not despair. Instead, he took a drop of Star Venerable's blood from his storage ring and prepared to take it. He had not wanted to take the Star Venerable's blood at first. But under such circumstances, he had no choice. Otherwise he would die. I can only take the Star Venerable's blood. Emerald Flame Star Sovereign took out the Star Venerable's blood. When he was about to put it in his mouth, it was suddenly snatched away. Oh, you still want to take the Star Venerable's blood? I gave you time to use it, but you did not use it. Now you want to take the Star Venerable's blood. Do you think I am an idiot? Etienne snatched the Star Venerable's blood and showed a cold smile. Chapter 1985. The Green Flame Star Venerate's blood was taken away. He was dumbfounded. He had not expected Etienne to come and take away his Star Venerate's blood. Without the Star Venerate's blood, how could he break out? How could he resist Etienne? My Star Venerate's blood. The Green Flame Star Venerate took out another drop of Star Venerate's blood quickly and put it in his mouth. But he was not as fast as Etienne. The drop of Star Venerate's blood was snatched away by Etienne again. It seems you still have a lot of Star Venerate's blood. You almost swallowed it all. Etienne stepped on his head and said calmly, "Give me your Star Venerate's blood." Then he snatched the Green Flame Star Venerate's storage ring, or more precisely, the Star Ring. The Star Ring was almost the same as the storage rings in the lower realm. It had a bigger capacity and could be bound to its master. It could not be opened by brute force. Even if it was opened by brute force, it would still require a lot of strength. Etienne was not worried that he could not open it. As long as he had the Star Ring, he would not worry. Even if he could not open it, at least he would not give the Green Flame Star Venerate's blood a chance to take it. My Star Venerate's blood. The Green Flame Star Venerate was anxious. The Azure Lotus behind him withered a few more times. When he was about to burst out and snatch the Star Ring, Tianyan stepped on the green flame star venerate's head and crushed it. If he still let the green flame star venerate go, he would be a fool if he still let him go. When his head was crushed, his soul rose quickly, trying to gather a new body and revive. The azure lotus behind the green flame star venerate could be revived 1 or 2 more times. It was impossible for him to be killed by Tianyan so quickly. You still want to be revived? Tianyan snorted coldly. He extended his hand and grabbed the escaping soul. Then he pressed it down with a raging power. Bang! The soul was shaken hard and became transparent. Not to mention resurrection. It seemed like his soul was about to dissipate. Ah! You will die a horrible death. Emerald Flame Star Monarch screamed. After his soul was crushed, forget about resurrection, he couldn't even move. After such a heavy injury, his soul was about to fall into a deep slumber. Don't worry. You'll die before me. Tianyan stretched out his hand and squeezed, crushing Verdant Flame Star Sovereign's soul. A bona fide strong star venerate was killed by Tianyan just like that. Furthermore, it was so easy. From the beginning to the end, he had been suppressing her without any sense of pressure at all. Ding! Successfully killed Verdant Flame Star Sovereign. Obtain 30 million star energy points. Obtain Star Sovereign Blood. Green Lotus Stellar Aspect, Level 5. The Verdant Flame Star Sovereign was easily killed. The forces that were certain that Tianyan would die were now speechless and dumbstruck. They had never expected that the Verdant Flame Star Sovereign would be suppressed so badly that he couldn't even fight back. It should be known that the Verdant Flame Star Sovereign had used his full power. He had even summoned the invincible Green Lotus armor. But in the end he had failed. He was dead. This was undoubtedly a heavy slap to their faces. It showed them who was truly invincible. Green Lotus armor? In front of Tianyan, it was just a piece of scrap metal. He could destroy it all the same. Now it's your turn. Tianyan continued to transform into the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. He pressed forward, crushing the Divine Palaces layer by layer. He had flattened them. After killing the Verdant Flame Star Sovereign, he would continue to do so. As Tianyan pressed forward, the elders of the Green Pill family trembled. Fear filled their eyes, and their legs trembled. Even the strong Verdant Flame Star Sovereign had been killed. So it would be their turn next. Elders, this time we. The disciples' eyes were full of fear. They looked up at the ancestral land of the Jade God. It could be their future. Since Tianyan was so cruel, they were afraid they wouldn't be able to escape, either. There is still Jade Heaven Star Sovereign. He is the strongest. As long as he comes out, the ancestral land of the Jade God will have a chance to win. Jade Heaven Star Sovereign is the son of a star venerable. The elders still didn't think they had lost. They thought the ancestral land of the Jade God could win. The remaining star sovereign, Jade Heaven Star Sovereign, was indeed the son of a star venerable. He had the bloodline of a star venerable, which was undoubtedly a terrifying talent. Usually the descendants of experts wouldn't be too weak. They would inherit their talent and possess even greater power. Jade Heaven Star Sovereign was one of them. He not only had a level 6 star Dharma, but he also had a nature-defying bloodline. However, Jade Heaven Star Sovereign hadn't shown up yet. Tianyan had flattened most of the ancestral land of the Jade God, but he still hadn't shown up. If it went on like this, the ancestral land of the Jade God would be destroyed. Looks like he is really patient. Is he still not going to show up? As Tianyan was moving forward, he sensed there was a dreadful power deep in the ground ahead of him. It was surging toward him, but it didn't want to show up. He guessed it was probably in seclusion, especially at the crucial moment of a breakthrough. He might be trying to break through to the Star Venerable realm. Only Jade Heaven Star Sovereign, the son of a Star Venerable, could break through to the Star Venerable realm. If he rushed out carelessly, he might fail. So he had been holding back. Even when Verdant Flame Star Sovereign was killed, he didn't come out of seclusion. Usually there was only one possibility. That was Verdant Flame Star Sovereign and the others weren't important. And his breakthrough was much more important. Tianyan had seen a lot of such selfish people, especially in the ancestral land of the Jade God. All in all, they wouldn't help even when their own people were dying. Tianyan smiled coldly. Then he continued to push forward. The disciples of the ancestral land of the Jade God kept shouting Jade Heaven Star Sovereign's name. However, Jade Heaven Star Sovereign didn't come out. He was still in seclusion to break through. When Tianyan pushed all the way up, there was still a part left. Suddenly, the stars in the sky began to move, and the star Dharma idol around him began to rotate, quickly turning into a sea of stars, and shrouding the area, as if it was announcing the birth of a strong expert. He broke through. Tianyan looked at the ground in front of him in surprise. It was possible that Jade Heaven Star Sovereign had really broken through. If he continued to break through, he would become Jade Heaven Star Venerable. At that time, he wouldn't be facing a Star Venerable, but a Star Venerable. Boom! A beam of starlight rushed out of the ground. It was accompanied by an angry shout. I am a Star Venerable. Everyone will submit to me. The starlight was shining. Pleasant music came from all directions. It was transmitted from the sea of stars. Everyone in the ancestral land of the Jade God was overjoyed. They all knelt down to worship him. Sir, congratulations on breaking through to the Star Venerable realm. You are invincible. Chapter 1986. Star Venerables represented invincibility in the world. So far, no force had Star Venerables. Even if they had in the past, not now. So, as long as a force had Star Venerables, it would be invincible. Even the ancestral land of the Jade God would have to bow down to them. Even if they had Star Venerables, it was just a foundation, not a Star Venerables themselves. They were not on the same level. So, as long as other forces had Star Venerables first, the ancestral land of the Jade God would be doomed. Of course, it was very difficult to break through to the Star Venerables level. It was impossible for other forces to have Star Venerables. The ancestral land of the Jade God would be the first to have Star Venerables. So many resources were in the ancestral land of the Jade God. If they had Star Venerables earlier than the ancestral land of the Jade God, it would be humiliating. Of course, it was unlikely to happen in normal circumstances. After all, cultivating a strong person was proportional to the resources. It was not easy to cultivate a strong person. How could a super strong person be cultivated without a great amount of resources? It was like Tianyan. He might have been able to break through even without top-notch elixirs. But his breakthrough was also based on the experience gained from killing strong people. If he had killed some low-level practitioners, he would not have been able to break through. Now it was almost the same. In this area, only the ancestral land of the Jade God had the resources to cultivate Star Venerables. Star Venerables? Tianyan's eyes lit up. He looked at Star Venerable Jade Heaven, or more precisely, Star Venerable Jade Heaven. The surrounding sea of stars revolved around Star Venerate Jade Heaven, and played a beautiful melody. It was like a celestial music, welcoming Star Venerable Jade Heaven's breakthrough. The elders of the Qingdan family slapped their thighs excitedly. Look, it's a Star Venerable. It has been many years since a Star Venerable appeared. I told you Star Venerable Jade Heaven would definitely break through to Star Venerable. He is the son of a Star Venerable. Now that lad is doomed. He won't be able to fight back against the power of a Star Venerable. They felt lucky for their choice. They had regretted it before, but now the situation had changed. They were not regretful at all. Instead, they were excited. Looking at their excited expressions, some forces revealed looks of disdain. The people from the Qingdan family were so excited. They thought that they really had something to do with the ancestral land of the Jade God, but in reality, they were just lackeys. Even if they could eat meat and drink soup in the ancestral land of the Jade God, the Qingdan family might not even be able to lick the soup. However, they were so agitated because they were afraid that Tianyan would take revenge on them. The rest of the forces thought the same. Some of them had offended the celestial pole ancestral land or Tianyan, so they definitely hoped that Tianyan would die. Even though the ancestral land of the Jade God had nothing to do with them, they were still very excited. It's over. It's a Star Venerable. Han Long and the others turned pale. They had been happy and excited about Tianyan's great power, but now they felt cold, as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. When they saw that it was the Jade Heaven Star Lord who had broken through to the Star Venerable realm, they felt despair welling up from the bottom of their hearts. If the Jade God's ancestral land was difficult to contend with and was deeply rooted in people's hearts, then the Star Venerables were just common sense. It was difficult to defeat an opponent of a higher level. They would only be crushed. Fairy Fanyu was shocked. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but she found she couldn't utter a word because of the power. It was a Star Venerable. Several people in the distance also trembled. They were extremely scared. Jade Heaven Star Lord has broken through to the Star Venerable realm. I'm afraid we won't have any chance this time. But our junior sister is still there. Doesn't that mean our ancestral land supports Star Lord Tianyin? Fine. Let her stay there. Let's go back and inform the great ancestors so that they can get ready for the fight. This battle is bound to happen. Fairy Fanyu's sibling disciples all turned around and went back. They had followed them secretly, because they wanted to see how Tianyin was doing. At first, they were very excited. It seemed they could overthrow the Jade God's ancestral land. But when Jade Heaven Star Lord broke through to the Star Venerable realm, they were pale and desperate. They had predicted a long time ago that even if the Jade God's ancestral land had a Star Venerable, it would take a long time. It wasn't easy to break through to the Star Venerable realm. They had to make a lot of preparations. But now it was much earlier than they had expected. It was useless to think about it now. They could only go back and prepare for the fight. They didn't know how to deal with the Star Venerable. Speaking of which, I really have to thank you. If you hadn't angered me, I wouldn't have been able to overcome this hurdle so easily. Jade Heaven Star Lord looked down at him. His eyes were full of disdain and coldness. He felt everything was so small, including Tianyin. It seems that I have helped you. As a reward, shouldn't you repay me? Tianyin said calmly in front of the Star Venerables. Of course I will repay you. I'll capture you and torture you. I'll tear apart all your forces and your family right in front of your eyes. Star Venerate Jade Sky's eyes were cold. He had been breaking through below the ground all this time, so he had been as sullen as he could get. Now he had finally broken through and wasn't stuck at the Star Lord level anymore. He felt refreshed. It looks like you are very confident in your strength. Tianyin sized him up and said with a faint smile, You are just a half-baked Star Venerable? In my opinion, your energy is a bit messy. You haven't consolidated it yet. It looks like you didn't prepare enough for the breakthrough. I'm afraid you are not as good as a real Star Venerable with your foundation. In my opinion, you used elixirs to break through, didn't you? The appraisal eye could easily detect the situation, and he could see Star Venerable Jade Heaven's situation clearly. Jade Heaven Star Lord's eyes flashed. He was shocked. He hadn't expected Tianyin to know his situation so clearly. He was full of killing intent. No matter how unstable I am still a Star Venerable stronger than you. Jade Heaven Star Lord waved his hand. The level 6 Star Dharma idol behind him burst out. It was a giant starlight deity. The starlight deity controlled the power of stars in a large area. It could control the power of meteorites in a flash and smash the enemy into a pulp. No wonder it was a level 6 Star Dharma idol. Every level 6 Star Dharma idol was very powerful. Well, a level 2 Star Dharma idol. Chapter 1987. He had seen the Star Dharma aspects so many times, and he finally saw a Star Dharma aspect of the second level. He had thought only the Star Dharma aspect could be upgraded. It seemed even if the Star Dharma aspect was not unique, it could still be upgraded. He had also wondered whether only the Star Dharma aspect of the 6th level, or above could have such a privilege. He had even wondered whether he needed to upgrade more than 2 levels to break through to the Star Venerable realm. But if he could upgrade to the 6th level, wouldn't it be impossible for the Star Dharma aspect of the 5th level, or the Star Dharma aspect of the 4th level to break through to the Star Venerable realm? There were too many unsolved mysteries. After all, there was too little information about this. Anyway, Star Lord Jade Heaven had broken through successfully, and become a very strong Star Venerable in the world. As soon as the Starlight Deity's Star Dharma aspect appeared, everyone knelt down to worship it. It was a god. It was a bit stressful to feel this power. He had broken through to the Star Venerable realm. No matter what shortcut he used, he had broken through to the Star Venerable realm. After breaking through to the Star Venerable realm, the power he could control was far beyond what a Star Lord could control. Then let the world see what the power of a Star Venerable is. From now on, the ancestral land of the Jade God is invincible. Those who obey me will prosper, and those who oppose me will die. Star Venerable Jade Heaven raised his hand. The sea of stars floating in the sky quickly gathered into a strong star power. In the end, it shrouded the sky, 20 cubic meters of star power. It was unknown how many cubic meters of star power Star Venerable Jade Heaven could control before breaking through. At least now, after breaking through to the Star Venerable realm, he could control 20 cubic meters of star power. 20 cubic meters of star power was a qualitative leap. The more star power one could control, the stronger the power they could display. This was especially true when Star Venerate Wuxian had just displayed it. Just this power alone was enough to make it difficult for everyone to resist. Even Tianyan felt extremely pressured. This was the suppression of states. No matter how weak he was still a Star Venerable. Facing such a power, many disciples of the ancestral land of the Jade God cheered. The ancestral land of the Jade God was invincible enough. Although they had lost several Star Lords, they still had one Star Venerable. The group of people looked at Tianyan as if they were looking at a dead man. No matter how shocking Tianyan's performance was before, he was still a dead man. However, no matter how shocking it was, it could not compare to Star Venerate Wuxian waving his hand. Are you afraid, mortal? Star Sovereign Jade Heaven looked straight into Tianyan's eyes. He didn't see any panic or fear in them. They were still calm. You think that you can intimidate me with just this bit of strength? How naive. The five-colored Emperor Dragon behind Tianyan expanded rapidly. He leaped into the sky and snorted. Today I will cut down the scourge of this world with my power. The giant five-colored Emperor Dragon's unique star Dharma rose in the sky. Even though it was a Star Venerable's power, its starlight was not covered. This was the unique power of the stellar Dharma idol, unique in the world. Unique Star Dharma idol? Is that what you're relying on? Star Venerate Wuxian said with a disdainful smile. If my cultivation was not as good as yours, I might be a bit scared. However, cultivation is the key to victory. Go down, it's just a unique Star Dharma idol. He raised his hand and pressed down. 20 cubic meters of astral power quickly pressed down on Tianyan, who had transformed into the five-colored Emperor Dragon. The domineering five-colored Emperor Dragon was still unable to resist the Star Venerable's power. Swallow the starry sky. Tianyan opened his giant mouth and swallowed the astral power of the 20 cubic meters. The starlight on Star Venerate Wuxian's side dimmed immediately. At the same time, the astral power on Tianyan's side suddenly increased from 12 cubic meters to 16 cubic meters. The astral power of the two sides suddenly became equal. It was a tie. Of course, this was only the balance of astral power. It was not the same in terms of cultivation. What? Star Venerate Wuxian had never seen this kind of power. Most of the others had never seen such a crazy move from Tianyan. Therefore, when they saw Tianyan's astral power being swallowed, they were really shocked. Chaos Rage. Tianyan did not give his opponent too much time to be surprised. He opened his giant mouth and gathered a terrifying power. He aimed at Star Venerate Wuxian and released it. Dong. The void shattered. A giant beam of light whizzed over, carrying Tianyan's strongest attack. As long as he had 15 cubic meters of astral power, he would not hesitate to use this move. Star Venerate Wuxian quickly reached out to block it. Although he did it quickly, he was still blown away. After being blasted away for some distance, Star Sovereign Jade Heaven forcefully clenched his hand, and with a boom, the huge beam of light was forcibly crushed by him. I didn't expect you to have this kind of ability. I underestimated you. But how dare you challenge me with this little power? You are too naive. Star Venerate Wuxian's eyes were ice cold. A raging power was released. Even though he only had 16 cubic meters of astral power left, he still had a nature-defying power. After all, he was a Star Venerate, not a Star Lord. As expected of a star venerate's power. I've seen it. Looks like I have to spend a lot. A drop of star venerate blood appeared in Etienne's hand quickly. It was not the blood of the star venerate of the five-colored holy race, but the blood of the star venerate he had snatched. He had obtained a lot of star venerate blood, so he would certainly use it without hesitation. Star venerate Etienne's face darkened when he saw the blood in Etienne's hand. How dare you use my father's essence blood? So what? Now that it is in my hand, it is mine. Etienne quickly took the blood of the star venerate to increase his power. It would be difficult to deal with the powerful star venerate Etienne without using something. Even if he relied on the crazy mode, he might not be able to contend with him. There was still a big gap between them. After taking the blood of the star venerate, a power burst out of his body quickly. Crackle, crackle. A crisp sound came from Etienne's body. Then his body swelled up. However, compared to the blood of the five-colored holy race, it was still much weaker. This proved the blood of the five-colored holy races, star venerate, was much stronger than the blood of the ancestral land of the Jade God. Phew! When the power was fully released, there were 18 cubic meters of astral power in the sky above Etienne. His power also increased greatly, but it was still not enough. Then Etienne took out 2 more drops of the blood of the star venerate and put them in his mouth without hesitation. Either he didn't explode, or he used all his power. His opponent was a real star venerate. If he didn't use a certain amount of the blood of the star venerate, he would not be able to contend with him. Chapter 1988. Etienne stuffed all the star venerable's blood into his mouth. An explosive power burst out of his body. The astral power above him reached a higher level. It reached 21 cubic meters in one go. He had to absorb 3 drops of star venerable's blood to reach 21 cubic meters. He thought about how he had absorbed a lot of astral power by devouring the starry sky when he was with the five-colored holy race. However, there was only 1 star venerables here. There were no other star venerables around, so he couldn't devour them. If he could, he wouldn't have stopped at 21 cubic meters. The quality is a little low. It's a lot lower than the five-colored holy races. Etienne was a little unhappy about this. He had thought he could reach a higher level. It seemed he had thought too much. He couldn't increase his power by much. But overall, he had improved a lot. 21 cubic meters of astral power was enough to shock everyone. He had used the star venerable's blood to achieve this. People were shocked when they saw the astral power above Etienne. The strongest they had seen in their lives was only 20 cubic meters of astral power. Now there was 21 cubic meters of astral power, which had broken the record. When he reached 21 cubic meters of astral power, Etienne turned the five-colored Emperor Dragon's body around and stared at Star Venerable Jade Heaven in front of him. Star Venerable Jade Heaven had come over. He had come over when Etienne had taken the Star Venerable's blood. He had just strengthened himself, and he was already in front of Etienne. You absorbed my father's blood. Spit it out. Star Venerable Jade Heaven reached over with his bare hands. The strong Star Venerable power could tear the world apart with his bare hands. Etienne could feel the suffocating power when he reached over. Of course, he wouldn't step back. Instead, he waved his giant dragon claws to confront Star Venerable Jade Heaven. Boom. A great power came down. Etienne was sent flying by the punch. His giant body kept retreating. On the other hand, Star Venerable Jade Heaven didn't step back. His body only shook a little. The difference in strength between the two of them would be immediately apparent. A Star Venerable's power was too great. Even though he had the support of 21 cubic meters of star power, he still could not contend against Star Venerable Jade Heaven. Etienne felt that his arm had become extremely sore, and he had almost broken it. Even if you absorbed the Star Venerable's blood, it would still be impossible for you to surpass me. No matter how much you absorb the Star Venerable's blood, you are still a Star Lord, not a Star Venerable. Do you understand, mortal? Star Venerable Jade Heaven sneered coldly and said, You want to suppress me with some Star Venerable blood? You are too naive. You want to overthrow our ancestral land of the Jade God? Are you relying on your naivety? Star Sovereign Jade Heaven's eyes were filled with disdain. He had wanted to stop Tianyan from absorbing the Star Sovereign's blood. Not because he was afraid that Tianyan would be stronger than him, but because he didn't want Tianyan to taint his father's blood. However, he was still a step too late. Tianyan forcefully consumed it, and he was unable to stop it. The other onlookers all sneered coldly. Using the Star Venerable's blood to suppress a Star Lord was not a big deal. It was too stupid to use the Star Venerable's blood to suppress a Star Venerable. It was like a cultivator holding a level 9 divine elixir to show off in front of a level 9 alchemist. It was quite easy for a level 9 alchemist to refine a level 9 divine elixir. Showing off with a level 9 divine elixir was an idiot. In their eyes, Tianyan's behavior was more or less the same. No matter how he took it, it would be useless. In other words, the blood in Star Venerable Jade Heaven's body was completely the Star Venerable's blood. How could he fight? Even though the level of the Star Venerable's blood Tianyan had taken was higher than that of Star Venerable Jade Heaven's, they were not on the same level in terms of quantity. I said the ancestral land of the Jade God would not lose. With a Star Venerable, how could they lose? The elders of the Qingdan family laughed. It seemed Tianyan had not been able to turn the tables in the end. Many apprentices nodded. It seemed there was no more suspense in this fight. Tianyan didn't say a word, and continued to rush forward to meet Star Venerable Tian head-on. He did not retreat. Instead, he continued to attack fiercely. Are you speechless? Then let's end this battle. Star Venerable Jade Heaven thought Tianyan was stubbornly holding on. Even if he lost, he would fight with him. Then he continued to attack Tianyan. He did not use any powerful moves. He just used the Star Venerable's power to attack him. It was not that he did not want to use other moves. It was just that he had just broken through, and his situation was not stable. If he used other powers, he would be in a mess, which would be disadvantageous to him. So he could only use the Star Venerable's power to suppress Star Venerable. But this was already very powerful. Under the continuous attacks, Tianyan kept retreating. His giant body was badly mutilated, but he recovered quickly. Again, Tianyan laughed. He continued to attack like a masochist. It seems you are quite tough. I will beat you until you can't fight back. Star Venerable Jade Heaven continued to attack Tianyan with his destructive power. One punch after another, Tianyan didn't know how many times the void around him was smashed, and he was hit again and again, but Tianyan was hit again and again. Even though there was a big hole in his chest, he recovered quickly and continued to fight with Star Venerable Jade Heaven. Such a defense was shocking. But in the eyes of others, he was just holding on. It was unknown how long he could hold on. Lord! The eyes of Qing Shui and the others were red. They saw Tianyan being sent flying again and again. He looked so embarrassed. Although Fairy Fanyu was a little moved by this, she seemed to have seen something familiar. She remembered this scene when she faced Golden Wind Star Lord Dong. When Tianyan was sent flying again, Star Venerable Jade Heaven realized that his attacks were no longer effective. Not only did Tianyan's defense become stronger, but his strength seemed to be able to push him back for some distance. What's going on? Star Venerable Jade Heaven was shocked. He did not feel it at first. As time passed, he realized that Tianyan's strength seemed to be increasing. Unknowingly, Tianyan was about to catch up to him and fight him as an equal. Without a doubt, this was the ability of the five-colored Emperor Dragon, adaptation. Strong adaptability. Under the situation where he was not killed instantly, he could endure the attacks and become stronger. Eventually, he would be able to approach Star Venerable Jade Heaven's strength. This was the terrifying power of the five-colored Emperor Dragon. The more he suffered, the stronger he became. From the beginning, Tianyan had been planning to absorb the Star Venerable's blood. He would not be able to fight Star Venerable Jade Heaven immediately, but he would be able to endure the attacks so that he would not be killed instantly. Chapter 1989. Tianyan continued to fight fiercely. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand. He was catching up to Star Venerable Tian. Each of his moves could destroy the world. His power had reached the Star Venerable level. This was an incredible ability. He could adapt to the Star Venerable level's power quickly. The problem was that he needed some time. If he was wrong, he would have died before he could get stronger. Boom. As they continued to fight, Tianyan and Star Venerable Tian were both pushed back. Their situations were almost the same. They were both pushed back a long distance. As long as one was not blind, one could see that their power had reached the same level. What's going on? Didn't Star Venerable Tian suppress his opponent? Why do they seem to be at the same level now? It's true. What's going on? One is a Star Lord, while the other is a Star Venerable. How can they be compared? Is Star Lord Tianyan actually a Star Venerable? That's impossible. Their situations are different. They were discussing this. They were all shocked by the scene in front of them. They had wanted to see Tianyan being crushed. However, as time went by, Tianyan's power increased bit by bit. He was as strong as Star Venerable Tian. This was beyond common sense. How could it happen in front of them? Fairy Fan Yu's eyes flashed. She had seen it before, but she was still shocked when she saw Tianyan's power again. It would be fine if he could do this to someone in the same level. However, it was unbelievable that he could do this to a Star Venerable. How is it possible for you to become stronger? Star Venerate Jade Heaven came to his senses. His previous arrogance was nowhere to be seen, and what remained was shock. You don't need to know that. Tianyan suddenly jumped into the air. The five-color king dragon's virtual image occupied a large area. It engulfed the light above his head. It's over. Chaotic anger. Tianyan opened his giant mouth and launched his strongest attack at Star Venerable Tian. Dong. A terrifying beam of light burst out, shattering the void. His attack was much more powerful than the previous moves Tianyan had used. After all, his power had reached the Star Venerable realm. How could its might be weak? His power had reached the Star Venerable realm, and when he fused it with the chaotic anger, its might reached an unimaginable level. I can block any attack. Star Venerable Jade Heaven roared angrily as he punched out. In the end, his punch collided with the rage of chaos. But this time, it did not destroy the chaos fury. Instead, it was engulfed by the light pillar and disappeared from everyone's sight. Dead? Everyone looked in shock at the place where Star Venerate Jade Heaven had disappeared. In an instant, Star Venerate Jade Heaven's aura disappeared without a trace. Did Star Venerable Jade Heaven die just like that in the face of such terrifying power? After the explosion disappeared, there was a huge pit in front of them. The energy it emitted caused them to be incomparably terrified. If they were to touch even a little bit of it, they would definitely die without a complete corpse. An existence as powerful as a Star Venerable had died just like that? It was hard for them to accept. When they all thought Star Venerate Jade Heaven was dead, a light pillar soared into the sky. The giant Starlight Wisdom King waved its giant arm and swept toward Tianyan. Its giant palm pressed down crazily. Every time it attacked, its power would be greater than before. Go to hell. Star Venerate Jade Heaven was in a sorry state. Under such a powerful attack, the injuries he suffered were not serious. They could only be regarded as light injuries. Since he had broken through to the Star Venerable realm, his defensive power could not be too weak. Most importantly, Star Venerate Jade Heaven's power had erupted completely. It was not like before, when he had only used his fists to deal with his opponents. This time he used the Star Dharma Idol's power for real. After this fight, his cultivation had stabilized, and he could erupt with even greater power. The gigantic Starlight Wisdom Monarch's fist and palm contained the strongest power of the stars, and every attack was suffocating. Good timing. Tianyan laughed loudly. He was full of pride. When he flew into the sky, his whole body emitted a five-colored light. His giant dragon eyes shone with a terrifying light. Chaotic stars. The attack, which had been ready for a long time, erupted at this moment. The power of the 21 blocks of stars above his head all surged down, and gathered on the body of the five-colored Emperor Dragon. Then it turned into a horrifying ball of light that smashed down like countless meteorites. If one observed it carefully, they would see that it looked like a silver river falling towards Star Venerate Jade Heaven. Countless stars continued to fall, forming a silver river. This move could only be exerted by someone with more than 20 cubic meters of star power. The previous chaotic anger had only been used to repel Star Venerate Jade Heaven, so that he could gather a stronger killing move. Tianyan knew it was impossible to kill Star Venerate Jade Heaven by relying on the chaotic anger alone, so he could only gather a stronger killing move. The chaotic stars needed more power to be gathered before they could erupt. When Star Venerate Jade Heaven rushed out, Tianyan finally finished gathering it. When it erupted, it turned into countless stars falling down. If one looked at it from a distance, it would seem like the silver river connected to the sky. Dong, dong, dong. Terrifying stars fell one after another, smashing toward Star Venerate Jade Heaven. Star Venerate Jade Heaven waved his giant palms and slapped away the stars. With his powerful strength, he could do this. Whenever a star came, it would be able to send a star flying. It was fine at first, but as time passed, more and more stars kept falling. No matter how many palms he had, he couldn't resist the power of countless stars. Ah! Get out of my way! Get out of my way! Star Venerate Jade Heaven kept slapping away the stars in fear. But after slapping away a piece, more came rushing down. In the end, his vision was filled with stars. Soon, everyone saw Star Venerate Jade Heaven being swallowed by countless stars after resisting for a while. One after another, the stars smashed onto his body. If one hit, there would be a second one. In the end, the gigantic Starlight Wisdom Monarch was easily penetrated and smashed into nothingness. Even Star Venerate Jade Heaven was smashed through by the pile of stars. In the end, he turned into a meteorite and fell to the ground. Boom, boom, boom. Even though Star Venerate Jade Heaven was smashed down, the countless stars kept falling, repeatedly crashing into the same area. The dense and continuous attacks made the scalps of the surrounding cultivators go numb, their hearts filled with fear. How could Tianyan burst forth with such strong power? He was clearly a Star Venerate. How could he burst forth with such strong power? This was far from what a Star Venerate should be capable of. Chapter 1990. A series of attacks came crashing down. After a period of time, the attacks finally stopped. When the attacks had stopped, the area in front of them had been turned into ruins. Most of the luxurious ancestral Jade God's earthly divine palace had been turned into ruins. Everything within a range of several million miles had been destroyed. Not to mention the destruction, a bottomless hole had been created. When they looked down, they couldn't even see the bottom of the hole. Did it stop? The crowd trembled as they looked at the giant pit in front of them. Even a Star Venerable would be killed if the pit was smashed by the pit repeatedly. Moreover, the attacks were so dreadful. They had never seen such a dreadful move before. Most importantly, such a dreadful move was launched by Tianyan. Those who had not thought highly of Tianyan felt their legs go soft. If Star Venerable Jade Heaven died, it would mean Tianyan would be invincible. Even if he was not a Star Venerable, his great power would surpass a Star Venerable's. He would be able to rule this area without any pressure. Whichever force he wanted to kill, he would kill that force. This was the power of a Star Venerable. He could decide who would die. He could not only decide who would live or die, but he could also make his relatives say that they deserved to die. This was the power of a strong man. Everyone had to obey him. If they didn't obey him and smile, they would die. Oh, you are not dead yet. Tianyan had returned to his original body in the air. He was exhausted. It would be terrible if he could still be fine after such a long attack. Tianyan was not invincible. He would still feel weak. Now he looked around quickly to find Star Venerable Jade Heaven. Soon he found Star Venerable Jade Heaven. He was lying on the ground. Not a single part of his body was intact. Even though he had a strong defense and a strong life force, he still couldn't take care of himself after the attacks. How could I lose? Star Venerable Jade Heaven struggled to get up, but he didn't even have the strength to do so. He was hanging by a thread. After being smashed so many times in a row, even his soul was almost smashed into smithereens. It was a miracle that he could still get up. Tianyan quickly landed in front of Star Venerate Jade Heaven. He looked at him and said calmly, "You are weaker than me, so you will naturally lose to me. Then he stepped on Star Venerable Jade Heaven's head. He was ready to deal the final blow and kill Star Venerable Jade Heaven. You can't kill me, Star Venerate Jade Heaven shouted. It was unknown where he got his strength from. Oh, give me a reason not to kill you. Tianyan stopped his attack and looked at him indifferently. My father is not dead. If you kill me, my father will definitely sense my death. When that happens, he will rush back. At that time, you will definitely die, Star Sovereign Jade Heaven shouted. He did not want to die. He still wanted to live. He had worked so hard to break through to the Star Venerable realm, but he still hadn't gotten the chance to enjoy the feeling of being superior to tens of thousands of people. If he died like this, wouldn't it be quite pitiful? Especially since his future was limitless. It would be a waste if he died. Oh, your father is not dead? Tianyan was surprised. He had always known that the Star Venerate of the ancestral land of the Jade God had died long ago, but no one knew how he had died. They only needed to know that the ancestral land of the Jade God once had a Star Venerable. That's right. My father is not dead. He just left for another area. He will come back soon. If you kill me, then come back immediately. He left a mark on my soul. If you kill me, he will surely remember you. Star Venerate Jade Heaven shouted. Tianyan looked down at him without speaking. Star Venerate Jade Heaven thought he had successfully frightened Tianyan, so he was quite complacent. It would be even more difficult to deal with a powerful Star Venerable, especially one that was extremely mature. It's a pity that you didn't convince me. Tianyan stamped his foot heavily without any pause. You. Bang. Star Venerate Jade Heaven's head exploded, but he was not dead yet. A wisp of his soul floated up and tried to escape, but Tianyan pulled it over quickly. Do you think you can escape? Tianyan said with a cold smile while grabbing his soul. My father is a Star Venerable. If you kill me, my father will surely hunt you down. Star Venerate Jade Heaven could not understand why Tianyan was not going to let him go even after he had told him everything. You have a great talent, but your negotiation skills are terrible. I destroyed most of your ancestral land of the Jade God, and beat you half to death. Even if I let you live, your father won't let me go. Tianyan said calmly. If you signed a contract with me, like a contract to die with me, you won't be able to escape if I die. Star Venerate Jade Heaven's threat accelerated his death. Would he survive if he did not kill him? He was afraid that Tianyan would die a more miserable death. Star Venerate Jade Heaven would not let him go. I will sign a contract to die with you right away. Star Venerate Jade Heaven finally realized what he had done wrong. His threat was undoubtedly forcing Tianyan to kill him. As Tianyan had said, his talent was great, but his negotiation skills were terrible. It was mainly because this guy was used to being superior. How could he bow his head? It's too late. Even if your father comes, I can still kill him. Tianyan snorted coldly and crushed Star Venerate Jade Heaven's soul. With a miserable scream, Star Venerate Jade Heaven died and disappeared from this world. But soon, his soul turned into a beam of light and entered Tianyan's body. It left a faint mark on his body. It was obvious that this was the tracing mark Star Venerate Jade Heaven had mentioned. If someone was marked by this mark, he would be targeted by Star Venerate Jade Heaven's father, Star Venerate Jade God. It was obvious that Star Venerate Jade God had not died. He was really still alive. He was obviously still alive, but he had announced to the public that he was dead. This was quite strange. Tianyan guessed that Star Venerate Jade God might have provoked someone, which was why he had faked his death to deceive everyone. Who did I provoke? Is there anyone that a Star Venerable wouldn't dare to provoke? Tianyan squinted his eyes, and immediately a wave of experience rushed into his mind. Successfully killed Star Venerate Jade Heaven. Obtained 50 million star energy points. Obtained Starlight King Starlight Dharma Idol, Level 2 Level 6. There was nothing to drop, which disappointed Tianyan. Apart from the two things that were guaranteed to drop, it was difficult for anything else to drop. This was undoubtedly related to his luck points. The system could not be upgraded and brought along, so it was naturally much worse. Chapter 1991. When everyone saw Etianyan crush Star Venerable Yutian's soul, they all felt it was their own souls that had been crushed. That feeling made them shiver from head to toe. Star Venerable Yutian is dead. He is dead. This time, Star Venerable Yutian was really dead. Everyone had seen it. It was not like before, when he had seen Star Venerable Yutian being sent flying, but he had still been able to fight back. Now he was really dead. His soul had been crushed in front of them. Even a divine elixir would not be able to save him. An invincible Star Venerable had been killed by Etianyan in this way. Before the fight, everyone had thought Etianyan would lose. Even though he had been very awe-inspiring, he would definitely lose when facing a Star Venerable. The result was beyond everyone's expectations. Etianyan had really killed Star Venerable Yutian. While it was rather difficult, he had already accomplished a magnificent feat in history. As a Star Venerate, he had successfully killed a Star Venerate. They did not know how Etianyan had done it, but the result was obvious. A Star Venerable had been killed by Etianyan. There was no one left in the ancestral land of the Jade God. All the elders and the 3 Star Lords had been killed by Etianyan. In this case, even if the ancestral land of the Jade God was destroyed, it would be meaningless even if they had the resources of Star Venerables. They had still been suppressed by Etianyan. He had crushed the ancestral land of the Jade God all by himself. All the forces that were enemies of Etianyan, or those who had declared that they were on the same side as the ancestral land of the Jade God and vowed to kill Etianyan, were all scared pale. We are doomed. We are doomed. The elders of the Qingdan family turned pale. They fell to the ground one by one. They did not look as awe-inspiring as before. They did not look like elders of the family at all. They looked like old men who were about to enter their coffins. Elders, what should we do? Star Lord Tianyan will definitely come to settle accounts with us. With his ruthlessness, I'm afraid our Qingdan family will. Many of the disciples could already imagine their fates. As long as Tianyan gave the word, their Qingdan family would disappear from this world. An existence that could even flatten the ancestral land of the Jade God could easily destroy a small family like theirs. Quick, go find Qing Shui. She must have a good relationship with Star Lord Heavenly Cloud. If she cherishes old times, she can plead with Star Lord Heavenly Cloud. It will definitely work. Their gazes shifted to Qing Shui. Qing Shui was watching the battle from afar. Before they came here, they had already noticed it. However, he was completely disdainful of greeting Qing Shui. It was as if he was looking at the shame of his clan. Now that the situation had changed so abruptly, it immediately became their last straw of hope. They sent someone to plead with Qing Shui. Although it was unsightly, they had driven Qing Shui out and announced that they had captured Qing Shui and taken her to the ancestral land of the Jade God to ask for punishment. But now they had to plead for her. No matter how awkward it was, they had to do it. In their opinion, if they wanted their clan to survive, they had to do it. Besides the Qingdan family, the other clans that had been gossiping behind their backs were all paralyzed on the ground. Their faces were pale, as if they had been dumbfounded. In the eyes of all the clans, the ancestral land of the Jade God was really doomed. Only Tianyan knew there was still a Star Venerable in the ancestral land of the Jade God. But he didn't know where he was hiding or whether he would attack. But he wasn't worried. By the time that guy attacked, he would have broken through to the Star Venerable realm successfully. When he broke through to the Star Venerable realm, he wouldn't be afraid of Star Venerable Jade God anymore. You want to pester me with this mark? Tianyan snorted coldly. The 5-colored Emperor Dragon in his body rose and swallowed the mark. He didn't feel uncomfortable anymore. This kind of tracing mark might work on other people, but it was useless against him. Even the slave brand from back then had been swallowed, let alone this tracking brand. I'm still a little bit away from breaking through to the Star Venerable realm. Fortunately, I've reached the standard. Otherwise it would be really troublesome. Tianyan checked his level-up requirement. If he wanted to break through to the Star Venerable realm, besides having enough star energy, he also needed the level of the Star Dharma Laksana. He had just reached the 2nd level. Only by reaching the 2nd level, or above, could he break through to the Star Venerable realm. This meant he was short of star energy. He hadn't expected that killing a star venerable would still not help him break through. He had to admit that this required a lot of star energy. After Yi Tianyan caught his breath, he waved his hand and signaled Han Long and the others to come over. Han Long and the others quickly rushed over and knelt in front of Yi Tianyan. They shouted, "Your Excellency is invincible. You overthrew the ancestral land of the Jade God and won. You don't have to say anything else. I'll leave the rest of the looting to you. Collect all the treasures here. Don't let any of them go," Yi Tianyan ordered. Yes. They immediately began to collect all the treasures in this place. Yi Tianyan didn't want to do this kind of work. What he needed to do now was to destroy the rest of the divine palaces. Only then could he officially announce the destruction of the ancestral land of the Jade God. But it would only take a little bit of time. Under Yi Tianyan's suppression, the last remaining area was destroyed by him. Even if he was called a demon, he would still suppress it. Being soft-hearted to the enemy was the same as being ruthless to himself. After destroying everything, the practitioners watching from the outside witnessed the process of Yi Tianyan destroying the ancestral land of the Jade God. The legendary existence that couldn't be overthrown had disappeared before their eyes. "The world has changed," someone said in a low voice. The world hadn't changed, but the whole situation had changed. After destroying the ancestral land of the Jade God, Yi Tianyan went back to the celestial pole ancestral land and found the slave brand hadn't been completely removed. This meant that Star Venerable Jade Deity was the one who was truly in control. "I can't have peace. If I don't kill Star Venerable Jade God, I can't solve the problem here." Yi Tianyan shook his head. He had thought destroying the ancestral land of the Jade God would be enough. He didn't expect the real controller was Star Venerable Jade God. It was reasonable. Only Star Venerables could control this kind of power. When they broke through to the Star Venerable realm, they could control a powerful power of law, which could easily suppress a family's power. "It seems I can only wait for Star Venerable Jade God to come. Let me see how strong the creator of the ancestral land of the Jade God is." Yi Tianyan's eyes lit up. But it seems he doesn't even have the nerve to come out. He even announced his death. Will he come out to take revenge? Chapter 1992. Yi Tianyan stayed in the celestial terminus ancestral lands to recuperate. After this battle, he had overdrawn himself, so he needed to recuperate. While he was recuperating, he was also waiting for Star Venerate Jade Deity to come and take revenge. However, after waiting for a long time, not only did Star Venerate Jade Deity not come, but a group of patriarchs and Star Venerates of various forces came. "Sir, the patriarchs of the Qingdan family, the myriad flowers ancestral lands, and other forces, as well as the Star Venerates, are waiting for you outside. They said that they came to ask for forgiveness." Han Long came in very respectfully. He still looked like a very inconspicuous old servant, but he did not know that his current status was one of the highest in the celestial terminus ancestral lands. After all, he had always been by Yi Tianyan's side, which was equivalent to Yi Tianyan's right-hand man. Anyone who saw him would be very respectful to him. Han Long did not become arrogant because of this. He still maintained a calm attitude. For him, everything was given to him by Yi Tianyan, so there was nothing to be arrogant about. He only wanted to follow Yi Tianyan. That was enough. "Oh, let them wait outside," Yi Tianyan replied casually and continued to meditate. "Yes, sir." Han Long did not say much, bowed and retreated. When Han Long came in front of the forces, he said indifferently, "Sir said that he will not see you for the time being. He needs to recuperate for a while, so he asked you to wait here." Everyone looked at each other and saw some dissatisfaction in each other's eyes. The experts of all the forces in the area were waiting here. They had not waited for a day or two. They had been waiting here for several weeks, but they had not even seen Yi Tianyan. However, they could only choose to swallow their anger and continue to wait outside the hall. The elders of the Qingdan family knelt on the ground. When they heard the news, they complained, but none of them dared to get up. They wanted to protect their families, so they had to do this. It was a spectacular scene at first glance. Most of the cultivators knelt on the ground, waiting for Yi Tianyan to come out. Fortunately, there were not many cultivators watching. This was not a place where just anyone could come in. If other cultivators saw this, they would be shocked. There are so many powerful experts, but now they are kneeling on the ground, waiting for Yi Tianyan to come out and speak. It is really unpredictable. Not too long ago, they were still challenging Yi Tianyan. But now, they were all kneeling on the ground and listening to his orders. Many things could change at a whim, and no one could stop them. This was the problem of the team. However, no one stood on Yi Tianyan's side. They all believed that the ancestral land of the Jade God could not be defeated. However, everyone had placed their bets on the wrong person, and Yi Tianyan had killed everyone. Elder, it's senior sister Qing Shui. A disciple saw Qing Shui passing by, and was about to walk towards Yi Tianyan. One of the elder's eyes lit up. He hurriedly stood up and shouted, Qing Shui, I am the third elder. Qing Shui, I'm the clan leader. One by one, they hurriedly stood up, trying to stop Qing Shui. Qing Shui stopped and looked over. Her eyes were calm. She saw familiar faces, but there was no emotion in them. Weren't you all kneeling there to beg for forgiveness? You can't take it anymore? Qing Shui said indifferently. That's not it. We just wanted to say hello to you. The elders in the clan miss you very much, especially the senior sisters and senior brothers. They all miss you very much. Have you forgotten the seventh elder of the library who has always taken care of you? He also misses you very much. The clan leader hurriedly tried to win over Qing Shui. At the same time, he played the family card to win back Qing Shui's heart. They had been here for a long time, but they hadn't seen Qing Shui for a long time. Now that they finally saw Qing Shui, they naturally came over to stop her. Seventh uncle. Qing Shui recalled the days when she stayed in the Qingdan clan. It was indeed very beautiful. She was especially touched by the elders who cared about her. Yes, we know we were wrong, but we can't do anything about it. We can't provoke the ancestral land of the Jade God. If we provoke it, our clan will be finished. To be frank, no matter who provokes the ancestral land of the Jade God, we can only choose to give up. We have no other choice. The clan leader sighed deeply. He felt a bit regretful. But how could one regret so easily in life? Yes, I can understand the clan's choice. Qing Shui nodded. Her expression was still cold. Hearing this, the clan leader and the others were happy. Was there a chance? When they just wanted to say a few words, Qing Shui added. But this is your own choice, so you have to take responsibility for your own choices. I'm unable to help all of you, and everything will be decided by the Lord. After saying this, she turned around and left. She didn't pay any more attention to them. The clan leader and the others were furious. They wanted to curse out loud, but they held back in the end. In their opinion, if Qing Shui hadn't stood on the right side, she wouldn't have been treated like this. In terms of cultivation, she was much weaker than them. It was nothing. Therefore, when they heard their juniors talk to them like this, they couldn't bear it. But when they remembered that Qing Shui belonged to Yi Tianyan, and that they were guilty, they couldn't speak carelessly. Hold it. The elders could only choose to swallow their anger. When they returned to their original positions and knelt down, the forces next to them laughed. What a joke. Are you trying to make up for your mistakes by pulling back our relationship? An expert at the side mocked. So what? You are still in the wrong. The clan leader snorted. I admit that I stood on the wrong side. But you abandoned your disciples and lost a chance. If it were us, we wouldn't abandon our disciples. You're the one who's stupid, and you're blaming me? They had teasing expressions on their faces. Although they didn't know the details of what had happened, they could make a general judgment based on the situation. The people of the Qingdan clan were about to explode, but they couldn't refute. Back then, Qing Shui had made some mistakes, but she hadn't given up. Though she was related to Yi Tianyan, if she wasn't his follower, the Jade God ancestral land wouldn't go too far. But they didn't hesitate to abandon her. To other cultivators, that was the stupidest thing they could do. Speechless, right? Especially you, who yelled the most and didn't hold back. TSK, when Lord Skycloud comes out, you won't be able to escape. They laughed. Chapter 1993. A group of people waited outside the palace for 3 months. Some were standing, and some were kneeling for 3 months. Actually, kneeling for 3 months was no pressure at all for people of their cultivation. Not to mention 3 months, even 3 years, 30 years, or even 300 years would not be a problem for them. This was related to their pride. After kneeling for a long time, they naturally felt resentful. Some were about to explode from anger. In the end, they turned and left, saying that they were not afraid of Tianyan, and that he could come if he wanted. They would wait. However, most of them chose to stay. No matter how resentful they were, they could only endure it. This heavenly cloud star venerate is too tyrannical. Even the Jade God ancestral land did not treat us like this, right? That's right. The Jade God ancestral land is tyrannical, but facing so many factions, they will still come out obediently. This heavenly cloud star venerate made us wait outside for so long. What a shame. How about we all leave? If they want to destroy us, we will fight it out with them. We don't believe that he alone can wipe out all of our forces. Then let's go. Staying here is too infuriating. No matter what, I am a star venerate. Waiting here for 3 months is too vexing. Soon after, they really did leave as soon as they said they would. They turned around and left, flying back to their own territories. Some people were bold, but only a small portion. Most of them stayed where they were. The bolder ones were the ancestral land, while the less bold ones were the family clans. Thus, they could only stay here obediently. The family clans were too small, and they did not have enough confidence. The ancestral land had star venerates no matter how weak they were. Furthermore, there were many grandmasters. How could they compare? After groups of people left, they waited for another month. Finally, Tianyan appeared. As soon as Tianyan appeared in everyone's line of sight, everyone's breath stagnated. Obviously, Tianyan didn't release any strong aura, but they all felt very heavy, and even their breathing slowed down a few beats. Oh, it looks like there are still many who can remain calm, and did not leave. However, it is still much less than I expected. It seems like there are quite a few people who don't take me seriously. After Tianyan came out, he smiled faintly, but his words carried a hint of dissatisfaction. Everyone's hearts trembled. Could it be that Tianyan would really go and destroy the other powers? Star Monarch Heaven Cloud, I am clan leader Qing Fei of the Green Dan family. We were deceived earlier and said things we shouldn't have. I beg you to spare our family. No matter what price we have to pay, please spare our family. The Qing Fei family had knelt heavily in front of Tianyan. If there were so many factions, the one that had been the most disrespectful to Tianyan would undoubtedly be the Qingdan family. Tianyan just stared at him. After a while, he turned to Qing Shui and said, "I'll leave this to you. You can do whatever you want." Beside him, Qing Shui was startled. She hadn't expected that Tianyan would leave his family to her to handle. The Qingfei family head's eyes lit up. Letting Qing Shui handle this matter would definitely be considerate of their past relationship. This way, there would be hope for their family's survival. Immediately, he looked at Qing Shui with wild joy, wanting to hear what Qing Shui had to say. "Yes, my lord." Qing Shui nodded respectfully and stepped forward. She looked at the Qingfei family head expressionlessly and said coldly, "First of all, clan leader Qing Fei has been extremely disrespectful to my lord. He will be executed immediately. The rest of the elders who have been disrespectful to my lord will be executed without exception. The rest of the Green Dan family will be handed over to me. Do you have any objections?" With just a few words, the Qingdan family's situation was settled. The Qingfei family head's eyes widened. He had never imagined that Qing Shui would be so vicious as to directly execute them. Not only had she occupied the Green Dan family for herself, but she had also executed all of them. "Qing Shui, how could you do this? In terms of bloodline, I'm your great-grandfather. You want to kill me?" "That's right, in terms of bloodline, I'm at the level of your grandfather." The rest of the elders who had been sentenced to death all stepped forward unwillingly. Their hearts were filled with fear. They had knelt here for so long, but in the end, they still couldn't escape death? In terms of bloodline? Qing Shui sneered. "Why didn't you think of this when you abandoned me? Most importantly, You have all insulted Milord too many times. Even if Milord forgives you, I won't. All of you will be executed, no discussion. Qing Shui was extremely ruthless, and her methods were beyond the imagination of the other forces. They had all thought that Qing Shui would at most severely punish them, and then occupy the family as a vassal of the Empyrean Pole ancestral land. Who would have thought that she would directly kill the first wave elders, and even the clan heads? They had never imagined that such ruthless methods would be used. We can't accept this. We can't accept this. The Qingfei clan heads roared, unwilling to obey Qing Shui's sentence. However, the answer they got was a group of Master Xing who stepped forward. They used to be the god-slaying team, and were extremely powerful. Destroying a family would not be a problem at all. Judgment. A group of experts from the god-slaying team charged over, and killed the Qingfei clan heads in a few moves. Until the moment they died, they never thought that Qing Shui would make such a decision. The rest of the people were stunned. She really didn't leave any room for negotiation. After all, Qing Shui was from the Qingdan clan. This could only mean that Qing Shui was truly loyal to Yi Tianyan and knew what to do. Actually, this was the best way to keep the Qingdan clan alive. If there was no punishment at all or a small punishment, it would incur Yi Tianyan's dissatisfaction. The final outcome would not only be the Qingdan clan being destroyed, but Qing Shui would also not be put in an important position. Sir, I wonder if you are satisfied with what I have done? Qing Shui knelt on one knee in front of Yi Tianyan and asked respectfully. Yi Tianyan nodded and said, "Not bad." He only gave a simple comment and did not say anything else. Actually, this was a test for Qing Shui. The Qingdan clan would not let things go so easily. Previously, on account of Qing Shui, he had been a little lenient towards the Qingdan clan. But now it was different. The Qingdan clan had been going against him, and had even humiliated him in various ways. However, on account of Qing Shui's situation, he had let Qing Shui settle the matter. Overall, the solution was more suitable. Kill all the higher-ups and leave the rest to Qing Shui to rule and be loyal to him. This was very suitable. However, it was still in line with his requirements. If it was more casual and didn't punish the Qingdan clan, he would have personally destroyed the Qingdan clan. At the same time, Qing Shui would lose the right to follow him. Previously, he had said that she would be loyal to him forever. Loyalty wasn't as simple as absolute loyalty. She had to follow him in all aspects. Chapter 1994. After dealing with this matter, Yi Tianyan turned his attention to the other forces. The leaders of the other forces knelt on the ground and hurriedly begged for mercy. Star Lord Tianyan, we were forced to do this. The ancestral land of the Jade God is so overbearing. If we don't obey them, we will all die. Yes, you must understand our difficulties. If we didn't do this, we would definitely be killed. Although we are all on the side of the ancestral land of the Jade God, you know that we didn't attack you, nor did we attack the celestial terminus ancestral land. Yes, we didn't do anything. We just watched from the side. They didn't have help like Qing Shui. If Yi Tianyan was displeased, their families would be exterminated. They didn't want their families to be exterminated. If they were exterminated, they would be ashamed to face their ancestors. As they begged for mercy, they observed Yi Tianyan's expression. They wanted to see what Yi Tianyan was thinking. But no matter how they looked, they could only see the expressionless Yi Tianyan. They couldn't guess what he was thinking at all. As Yi Tianyan remained silent, they felt more and more depressed. They didn't know what Yi Tianyan would decide. After a while, Yi Tianyan finally spoke. He took a step forward, but it was like stepping on their hearts. They felt the pressure increase and couldn't breathe. You have no choice, I can understand that. You can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment. This kind of thing has been happening all along. If you think you can get away with it, you're too naive. I'm sure you've all seen or heard about the consequences of standing on the wrong side. Yi Tianyan's tone was calm. It didn't sound murderous, but it made their hair stand on end. Their hearts sank. What he said was true. It seemed like they had no choice, but the consequences of standing on the wrong side were always miserable. The winner didn't care if they had no choice. As long as they didn't choose themselves, they would end up miserable. I'm not asking for much. Just hand over the 3 most precious items you have. The rest is to work for me. Tianyan looked at them and continued. I think you will hand them over honestly. If you don't hand them over, or keep the best ones, just like this. Tianyan stretched out his hand and waved it in the air. A huge palm came crashing down. With a loud bang, a huge palm print was left in front of him. The area it covered was over 1,000,000 miles in radius. With such coverage, even a small clan would be easily annihilated. When the clan leaders heard this, they complained incessantly. The 3 most precious things were undoubtedly handing over the clan's heirloom. They didn't have many precious treasures to begin with. Now that 3 of them had been taken away, it was truly infuriating. However, they could only choose to hand it over. This was considered the punishment for standing on the wrong side, and it was considered relatively light. They had already made similar preparations. As long as they could protect their family, there was nothing they couldn't hand over. Thank you, Star Monarch Skycloud. One by one, they knelt and kowtowed to Tianyan again, handing over treasures and thanking Star Monarch Heavencloud. Only an expert would say something like that. If it were any other opponent, they would have already started fighting. As for the forces that chose to leave, it seems that I have to meet them personally. Tianyan's eyes turned cold. Then his figure flashed and he quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. The clan leaders looked at the area where Tianyan had disappeared in shock and murmured. Is Star Monarch Skycloud going to destroy the other forces? Those who left were all at the level of the ancestral lands. Those who had the guts to leave were all at the level of the ancestral lands. Those who didn't have the guts to leave were all at the level of the ancestral lands. Soon they received the latest news. The Star Monarch of the ancestral lands was dead. The Star Monarch of the Celestial Peaks ancestral lands was dead. The Star Monarchs who had left without permission were all killed. The ancestral lands immediately replaced their leaders, and at the same time, they had to serve Tianyan. When the news reached them, they were all scared out of their wits. They hurried to prepare their most precious treasures. If their treasures were not that good, they would immediately sell their pots and pans to buy better treasures. Even so many Star Monarchs had died, not to mention some small clans. Killing God. Just like that, Tianyan's impression was branded in his mind. This was a vengeance. Those who harmed him or disrespected him would be killed without exception. Tianyan had given them a chance long ago, but they had been so disrespectful to him. It was fine if they had chosen the wrong side, but they had been so disrespectful. They really did not take him seriously. Originally, Tianyan did not want to start a massacre like this. However, if he wanted to control this place, he needed some deterrence. He did not seek to control all the forces. Given his current situation, he did not have that many people to help him manage them. Those who were loyal to him were not capable enough. Therefore, he wanted to intimidate the surrounding forces and make them respect him. After this incident, the whole area was shaken. Everyone sighed. This was a new round of reshuffling. Many forces are secretly full of hatred for Tianyan, but they can't take revenge. He could even kill a star venerable, let alone a mere star monarch. When the matter was almost settled, Tianyan went back to his residence to continue cultivating. Everything seemed to go back to normal, and he went back to his old days. Soon, many clans started to offer all kinds of treasures. Some even offered 4 or 5 treasures. According to the rules, they had to offer 3 treasures, but they offered many. They wanted to put on a good show. Tianyan stayed in his room and received the treasures that were brought to him. Many treasures were offered one by one. He just glanced at them and did not look at them anymore. The treasures offered by the clans were actually pretty good. There were all kinds of divine medicines and martial techniques. These were pretty good, but they were not attractive to Tianyan. He just wanted more resources. When his own forces came up, he would train them with all his strength. After all, the forces below him were his forces. The forces here had nothing to do with him. Many of them could not be trained well. It was better to count on the forces from the lower realms. As a result, he received the treasures for the forces in the lower realms, not for himself. In his current situation, these things would not be of much use to him, unless they were similar to the 9-turned star grass or the golden divine grass. But could these clans offer them? However, compared to the Jade God's ancestral land, they were relatively mild. The Jade God's ancestral land had collected all the resources, while he only wanted the top 3 treasures. While he was resting, a figure suddenly appeared at the door. Everything was quiet. Chapter 1995. Suddenly, there was a stranger in the room, and he was covered by a black cloth. It was not an ordinary black cloth. It was a kind of black cloth that could hide one's aura. It was a treasure. It was rare to see something that could hide one's aura so well. When he saw the stranger, Tianyan didn't panic, but he was calm. To be able to silently appear under his powerful senses, one must either have an extremely powerful cultivation base, or possess an astonishing treasure. The only person who could appear in such a situation was Star Venerable Jade Deity. He could not think of anyone else who could sneak in to look for him. It seems that you are quite calm. No wonder you dared to flatten our ancestral land of Jade Deity. You do have some strength. A low voice came from under the black cloth. Although it came from under the black robe, it seemed to come from the bottom of an abyss. From what he had said, he was sure that the person who had come was Star Venerable Jade Deity. He was not dead, and he seemed to be in good condition. He had chosen to hide his aura because he was being chased or because he was afraid of being discovered. If he had come to look for Tianyan, he would not have been so careful. Even if Tianyan had the strength to flatten the ancestral land of Jade Deity, Star Venerable Jade Deity would not have been so careful. After all, it was not necessary. Star Venerable Jade Deity was a Star Venerable, much stronger than Star Venerable Jade Heaven. With his temperament, he would only use the most violent force to suppress them, and not come here in hiding. It could only be said that he had been targeted by some Almighty, and that Almighty was even stronger than Star Venerable Jade Deity. What? Did you disguise yourself to take revenge for your son? I did not expect Star Venerable Jade Deity to be afraid of someone. Tianyan was not afraid. He was still calm. He had been looking forward to Star Venerable Jade Deity's arrival. Therefore, he was quite happy that Star Venerable Jade Deity had shown up. It would be best to get rid of this scourge as soon as possible. The more you know, the faster you will die. Don't you know that? Star Venerable Jade Deity said coldly. Of course I know that. But I don't know who will be dead. Tianyan looked at him and said with a faint smile. Besides, I do not have any Almighty as my enemy. I am not afraid of being chased. Do you dare to reveal your full strength and fight with me? Don't be too arrogant. Celestial Star Sovereign Jade Divinity snorted. Don't think you're invincible just because you flattened the ancestral land of Jade Divinity. The vastness of the world far exceeds your imagination. There are a lot more powerful than you. You're right, but it's still enough to deal with you. Tianyan smiled faintly. Arrogant. Star Sovereign Jade Divinity sneered and said, I don't know how many geniuses I've seen, but I've even seen geniuses stronger than you. Unique Star Dharma images aren't rare in the outside world. How dare you be so arrogant in such a small place? If you go out, you won't even know how you died. This time I didn't come here for revenge. I came back to take back something. As long as you hand over that thing, I won't pursue this matter. Star Venerable Jade Divinity said sternly. He didn't dare to release his aura, but his tone was quite sharp. That item? Tianyan was puzzled. He did not know what Star Sovereign Jade God was talking about. He had searched the entire ancestral land of the Jade God. Although there were many resources, he had not seen anything that could attract the attention of a Star Sovereign. He immediately thought of the star ring of Star Sovereign Jade Heaven. Could the item be in the star ring? As he thought about it, he realized that he had not opened the star ring to check what was inside. This thing still needed to be destroyed before it could be opened to see what was inside. Tianyan did not have time to open it, so he had put it aside for the time being. Now that Star Venerable Jade Divinity had mentioned it, he immediately thought of what was inside the star ring. The only thing he did not know was what was inside the star ring. It seems that you don't know what that thing is. Star Venerable Jade Divinity said in a low voice. That's good. My son's star ring is in your hands. Hand it over, and I'll spare your life. I really don't know what that thing is. But if I really hand it over, will you really let me go? Etianyan sneered and said. Don't treat me like a fool. If I really give it to you, you won't let me go. After a moment of silence, Star Venerable Jade Divinity said slowly. I can make an oath. Is that okay? Etianyan narrowed his eyes. He had not expected Star Venerable Jade Divinity to compromise to such an extent. It seemed that he had encountered some difficulties. He had left the treasure with his son. Now that his son was dead, he could only come back and take it. Otherwise, it would not be good if it fell into the hands of others. You don't want to avenge your son? Etianyan asked calmly. If I wanted to avenge my son, do you think I would talk to you slowly? Star Venerable Jade Divinity said in a low voice. As long as you hand over the star ring, I will not pursue this matter. I can make an oath. If Star Venerable Jade Divinity had not been wearing the black robe, he would have stared at Etianyan's eyes. But now he could not see anything under the black robe. Oh, it seems that you really don't dare to show up, Etianyan said with a faint smile. You don't even dare to avenge your son. Your opponent is really tricky. It would be impossible for Star Venerable Jade Divinity not to want revenge. But now that he was forced to show up, he could only swallow his anger. Don't talk nonsense. Either hand it over or fight to the death. Star Venerable Jade Divinity snapped. It's not impossible for me to give you the star ring. Etianyan said with a faint smile. But I have another condition. As long as you fulfill it, I will give you the star ring. What condition? Star Venerable Jade Divinity suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a suppressed tone. Boundless rage could be heard from his tone, but he could only suppress it. It's very simple. Help me remove all the slave brands and give me a share of the things inside the star ring. Etianyan said with a smile. These are my conditions. Not a bad deal, right? Bullshit. Star Venerable Jade Divinity said angrily. Don't be so presumptuous. Removing the slave brands is one thing, but you want to give you half of the things inside the star ring? Dream on. Oh, then what else is there to say? Let's fight. Etianyan spread his hands and said. In any case, I am not afraid of that Almighty. After all, I did not provoke him. Moreover, I did not intend to hand everything over to you from the beginning. I do not know what is inside, but I am sure it is something good. Etianyan said with a faint smile. If even you are tempted, I believe it cannot be bad. Chapter 1996. Star Venerable Jade Divinity was so angry that a dreadful power gushed out of his black robe. With him as the epicenter, the ground around him instantly cracked open. Even the entire temple was sent flying by this terrifying force. With a bang, the ceiling and the walls around the divine palace were sent flying. The divine palace, where Etianyan had been, turned into an empty arena. The guards outside the door were all sent flying by this dreadful power. Fortunately, they were far away. Etianyan didn't like guards standing too close to him, so he arranged for them to stand outside the divine palace. But this power was so strong that they were still sent flying. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. The soaring power attracted the guards' attention. They all flew over to see what was going on. However, they felt a dreadful power repelling them before they could get close. They felt like kneeling on the ground when they were just a little bit closer. What a dreadful power. It's even stronger than Star Venerable Jade Divinity. Is it a Star Venerable? Star Venerable? Sir, why are you being targeted by a Star Venerable again? I don't know. We can't go there now. Even if we go there, we won't be able to help. The guards could only watch from a distance. If they went there, they would be killed. Han Long and the others flew over quickly. They all turned pale when they sensed the dreadful aura. The aura of a Star Venerable. It's even stronger than Star Venerable Jade Divinities. Who is this enemy? Sir, you don't have any enemies. Why are there still strong people here? Is it a helper related to the ancestral land of the Jade Divinity? Han Long, Qing Shui, and the others all turned pale when they saw what was going on. They had managed to unify the situation and kill all the enemies. Why did such a dreadful person suddenly appear? There were very few star venerables in the first place, and now, they were as common as the streets. Now another star venerables had appeared suddenly, which made them panic. They could only watch from a distance. They couldn't get close. Sensing star venerable jade divinity's aura, Etianyan said calmly, "He is at the middle stage of the star venerable realm. He is indeed stronger than your son." The appraisal I detected star venerable jade divinity's cultivation right away. His cultivation was at the middle stage of the star venerable realm, which didn't exceed Etianyan's expectation. It was easy for him to make a breakthrough in his cultivation, but it was extremely difficult for others. It was already pretty good for them to advance to the middle stage of the star venerable realm. This was completely within his expectations, so he did not need to worry too much about star venerable jade deity being too strong. The extent of their strength was still rather limited. It seems you know nothing about the star venerable's cultivation. Do you think star venerables are weak just because you defeated my son, who has just become a star venerable? Star venerable jade divinity said coldly. One finger is enough to deal with you. In the next second, star venerable jade divinity did not waste any time. He had already gathered his power, and raised his hand to press down on Etianyan. A giant finger immediately appeared in the void, piercing through the void and stabbing down. The gigantic finger seemed to be countless times larger than his palm, as it pierced through the void and pressed down on them. A terrifying power permeated through the air, pressuring down in all directions. Before he even got close, Etianyan already felt as though he was about to be pressed to the ground. Even his feet, which were standing on the ground, were pressed into the ground by this power. Even the hardness of the ground could not bear such a dreadful pressure. Etianyan exerted all of his power in an instant. He turned into the true body of the five-colored emperor dragon. The star power of the 12 directions rose up and illuminated the world. He also activated the crazy mode. To strengthen his power, 2 virtual images appeared behind him. Besides the virtual image of the five-colored emperor dragon, there was also the virtual image of the Starlight Wisdom King. He could only layer the power of one kind of virtual image. Unless his power increased, it would be difficult for him to layer more powers. With the help of the 2 powers, Etianyan's power increased greatly. The Starlight Wisdom King waved its arms and made the star power above it increase by another level, reaching the star power of the 15 directions. The greatest effect of the Starlight Wisdom King was that it could greatly increase the amount of star power. Being able to layer 3 directions of star power at the 12 directions of star power was already incredible. In terms of the increase in power, it was equivalent to an increase of 9 times. The Starlight Wisdom King? Star Venerable Jade Divinity was dumbfounded. He sensed a familiar power behind Etianyan. He even wondered whether he had seen it wrong. How could Etianyan have his son's star Dharma Laksana? However, he was only dumbfounded for a moment. He continued to attack. He could only assume that Etianyan had some kind of power, not that he had 2-star Dharma Laksana. Even if your power is not weak, you are still trash before a Star Venerable. Star Venerable Jade Divinity continued to press down. The power that could pierce through the air pressed heavily on the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. Boom! With a loud noise, the whole area exploded. The earth shook and the mountains swayed. Even people who were thousands of miles away could feel the tremors easily. After a while, when the explosion had died down, Etianyan's figure reappeared in people's sight. He was covered with cuts and bruises. There were several holes on his body. He had almost been blown up by the pressure. However, the original body of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon had been blown up. It could not bear such a dreadful power. Phew phew phew. Etianyan gasped for breath. He looked around. The area had been razed to the ground. Fortunately, Etianyan had arranged for him to stay in a remote area. Otherwise, the whole city would have been blown up. He knew that if Star Venerable Jade Divinity came, he would come for him. He would not start a massacre outside. That would be meaningless. Star Venerable Jade Divinity would take revenge on him first, not on his subordinates. When the battle started, it would affect the surroundings. That was why he had chosen to stay in an area with no houses. Sure enough, when Star Venerable Jade Divinity exploded, the effect was shocking. As expected of the power of a Star Venerable, it's much stronger than I thought, Etianyan said with a grin on his face. Star Venerable Jade Divinity narrowed his eyes. He said in a deep voice, "You are really capable. You are a late-stage Star Venerable, yet you did not die after taking one move from me. But that's all. I did not even use 10% of my power, and you ended up like this. If I had used 10% more power, you would have died for sure." It's over. Star Venerable Jade Divinity did not give Etianyan a chance to catch his breath. He used a second finger on Etianyan. The larger finger pressed down. The power it contained was much stronger than before. Under such circumstances, the sky changed color and shook. The space in this area became unstable. Most of the area twisted crazily. It looked like it would collapse at any moment. Chapter 1997. Star Venerable Jade Divinity did not want to waste time. He wanted to get rid of Etianyan as soon as possible. The longer he exposed himself, the worse it would be. He had thought he could get rid of Etianyan in one move. After all, he had exerted a powerful move. Although he said it was only 10% of his strength, in fact, it was more than 20%. He just wanted to scare Etianyan. However, it was meaningless to scare him. No matter how strong he was, Etianyan was not afraid of him. After all, it was meaningless to be afraid because he could not win. This scene dumbfounded the guards. Star Venerable Jade Divinity's strength was even stronger than before. Before, Etianyan had been struggling to resist it. This time his move was even stronger than before. How could he resist it? The patriarchs of some forces had yet to leave. When he saw this scene, he immediately revealed an expression of schadenfreude. He is doomed. I don't know where he provoked such a strong man. And he is such a strong Star Venerable. This is called karma. Who asked him to be so cruel to us? Star Lord Heavenly Cloud is not so bad. He is much kinder than the ancestral land of Jade Divinity. Besides, if he is killed, this Star Venerable doesn't seem to be a kind person. He might be even crueler. This is true. No matter how many generations pass, it will be us who suffer. Some people gloated, while others thought Etianyan was not bad. The punishment for standing on the wrong side was very light, and it was also reasonable. Etianyan was not very overbearing. Even if he was overbearing, he was only overbearing to those who disobeyed his orders. Most people still hoped Etianyan could win. But could Etianyan win against such a strong Star Venerable? Star Venerable Jade Divinity's eyes were full of disdain. He thought Etianyan would definitely die this time. A person who was not even a Star Venerable wanted to be his opponent. It was really wishful thinking. Etianyan's eyes lit up. A faint smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. He was still very confident. Breakthrough. Ding. After deducting star energy, he has leveled up to the early stage of Star Venerable Realm. Boom. A beam of starlight shot up into the sky and spread out in all directions. The astral energy above his head began to spread out in all directions. At the same time, melodious music came from the surroundings, which represented the arrival of a Star Venerable. He unexpectedly broke through to the Star Venerable Realm. His talent is pretty good, but he has just broken through to the Star Venerable Realm, so he is no different from a child that has just learned how to walk. Star Venerable Jade Divinity was surprised that Etianyan could break through to the Star Venerable Realm. It was really not easy for him to break through at such a time. But he had just broken through, so his compatibility was too weak. He was like the Jade Heaven Star Lord, who had just broken through to the Star Venerable Realm. He had just broken through to the Star Venerable Realm, so he hadn't gotten used to all aspects of his power, so he couldn't use it. Even if it was stable, so what? He was a middle-stage Star Venerable. Etianyan's early-stage cultivation was not enough. The attack continued to descend, piercing through the starlight around Etianyan and distorting the void. It was about to land on Etianyan. I am a Star Venerable. An angry roar burst out of the starlight. An even bigger 5-color emperor dragon's shadow pounced on the thick finger. Its giant body pounced hard. As it waved its sharp dragon claws, the giant finger was torn to pieces. At the same time, 5 claw lights of different colors shot forward. They not only tore the giant finger apart, but also pierced through it to attack Star Venerable Jade Divinity. What? Star Venerable Jade Divinity was shocked. In his opinion, even if Tianyan had broken through, it would be difficult for him to resist his attack. The result was obvious. His attack had been destroyed. The 5 sharp claws were still flying toward him. However, Star Venerable Jade Divinity just waved his hand casually and scattered the 5 sharp claws. The attack was powerful, but after piercing through the giant finger, its power became very weak. As a result, Star Venerable Jade Divinity could break it effortlessly. At that moment, Tianyan was absorbing the star power around him quickly to strengthen his body. Soon he broke through and became a real Star Venerable. Other practitioners needed some time to consolidate their power, or adapt to it before they could exert the strongest power. Tianyan didn't need to go through this process. After breaking through, he could adapt to it immediately. Is this the power of a Star Venerable? It's really powerful. Tianyan took a deep breath. He felt that he had become stronger by several levels. After a series of exterminations, he finally had enough star energy to break through to Star Venerable. Facing Star Venerable Jade Divinity, he didn't break through immediately. He mainly wanted to see how big the gap between them was. After trying, he realized that a Star Venerable's power was really powerful. At first, he wanted to use the old trick. He wanted to take advantage of his weak cultivation to make Star Venerable Jade Divinity lower his guard. At that time, he would launch a sneak attack. However, he didn't even have a chance to do so. He was almost crushed by a single move. He had broken through to Star Venerable successfully, which made everyone's mouth drop open. Before, Tianyan hadn't been a Star Venerable, so they thought it would take him a long time to break through. But now he had broken through so quickly, which really scared them. In fact, the ones who were most shocked were Dangfeng and the drug god. When Tianyan had come to find them, he had only been a Star Master. Now he had broken through to Star Venerable in the blink of an eye. They were all shocked. This kind of speed was like a god's. They had been here for a long time, so they knew how difficult it was to break through. For Tianyan, it was as easy as drinking water. But they didn't think too much about it. The stronger Tianyan was, the better. Only then would they be able to stabilize this place. I didn't expect you to break through to Star Venerable. Your power isn't weak either. This is beyond my expectations. Star Venerable Jade Divinity said in a deep voice. This is a waste of my time. I've wasted too much time for you. But this time, I can't waste any more time. It's time to end it. Star Venerable Jade Divinity's black robe fell off completely. His pale face and white hair were revealed, but they couldn't hide his handsome face. When the other cultivators saw this face, they were all stunned. Star Venerable Jade Divinity? When they saw him, the first thing that came to their minds was Star Venerable Jade Divinity. But Star Venerable Jade Divinity was dead. How could it be Star Venerable Jade Divinity? And if they looked carefully, they would find that there was a big difference between him and Star Venerable Jade Divinity. Could it be Star Venerable Jade Divinity? Someone shouted out the legendary name in a trembling voice. Following that, the cultivators next to him all revealed looks of horror. Star Venerable Jade Divinity is dead. Dead? Isn't he in front of us now? Gosh, this is unbelievable. Star Venerable Jade Divinity is not dead. He came to take revenge. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.